Welcome to the regularly scheduled public meeting of September 5th, 2023 of the Township of Washington Township Council. Adequate notice of the meeting was given in accordance with the Open Public Meetings Act by the Township Clerk to at least 2 newspapers in January, and this meeting has been posted on the Township Bulletin Board, the Electronic Message Board, WCTV, and on the Township website. Please notify the municipal clerk for any disability requirements necessary for attendance at mayor and council meetings. The fire exits are located through the double doors to your right and through the door on your left. Please silence all cell phones. Salute to the flag. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Councilman Casio.
Here.
Councilwoman Feeney. Councilman Sears.
Here.
Councilwoman Velez.
Here.
Council President Morgan.
Here. Let the record reflect also in attendance Mayor Calamari, Township Administrator DeCarlo, Township Attorney Poller, and Township Clerk Witkowski. Tonight's PSA, a new community alert system. Receive community information instantly. Sign up at nixle.com. That's NIXLE.com. The Township of Washington book bin is now open and accepting books. The bin is located at Town Hall. Thank you to the VFW Post 6192. We now have a drop bin located outside of the library next to the locker system where you can retire U.S. flags properly. The 9/11 ceremony will be held at 6 p.m. on Monday, September 11th at the Township of Washington Memorial Monument in front of Town Hall on Pascack Road. In the case of inclement weather, the ceremony will be moved indoors to the Senior Center. Bergen County Satellite Office and Passport Outreach Services are coming to the Township on Thursday, September 21st from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. Please visit our website for further information. Town Day, October 7th, 2023, from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. We are still looking for sponsorship and volunteers. Info can be found on our website, or you can contact Councilwoman Velez at publicaffairs@twpofwashington.us. Our annual flu clinic will be held on Wednesday, September 27th, from noon to 1 p.m. at Town Hall. Bergen County Volunteers Chore, community helpers offering repairs and empathy, helps Bergen County seniors and those with disabilities remain safe in their homes by offering repair services. Chore jobs include installing grab bars, replacing outlet and switches, repairing leaky faucets, installing doorbells, locks, and changing light bulbs. Smoke alarm batteries. Chore does not service emergencies. Appointments are available by calling 201-489-7790. The Township of Washington Ambulance Corps is looking for volunteers. If you can volunteer, please call WTVAC headquarters at 201-664-3784. Leave a message and either President Bob Ehlers or Captain Trevor Landau will return your call. We have a PSA from the tax collector. Tax bills for the remaining quarters of the 2023 billing cycle will be mailed the week of September 4th. Bills are blue this year. Please note, any past due payments that were made after August 16th, 2023 for quarter 3, August, will not show as being paid on the 2023 payment stub of your bill. If you have already made a payment towards quarter 3, which was due 8/1, please disregard. If you are unsure, contact the tax office at 201-666-8797. Tax relief programs. Senior freeze. Application deadline is October 1st, 2023. Application booklets for first-time applicants are available from the tax office. Anchor benefit. If you received a benefit from the state last year and you remain eligible, you should have received an anchor benefit confirmation letter from the state. If your banking information has not changed, the state will automatically file your application. If your banking information has changed, please refer to your letter for instructions. The deadline for filing a change is September 30th, 2023. New Jersey residents who are 65 or older as of December 31st, 2020 will receive an additional $250 to their anchor benefit. Is that correct?
This is Joyce typing.
Okay.
It must be.
Benefits are expected to be distributed directly to you by November 1st, 2023. Our next council meeting will be held on Tuesday, September 18th at 7:30 p.m. We have some appointments, Mayor.
Yes, thank you, Council President. Good evening, everyone. Thanks for coming out to the meeting. I have 2 appointments this evening. Please be advised that I am appointing the following citizen for the position set forth below. Fire Inspector of the Department of Fire Prevention, Joseph A. Caporal, filling an unexpired term expiring December 31st, 2023. And an appointment to the Uniform Construction Code Enforcing Agency / Building Department. Please be advised that having received the recommendation and endorsement for the appointment of the following person from the Director of Engineering, I am hereby approving the appointment of the following person to the office position listed below. Uniform Construction Code Enforcing Agency / Building Department, Glenn M. Beckmeyer, PE, PP, CME, CFM, and CPWM. The effective date is September 5th, 2023. Thank you, Council President.
Thank you. We now have a presentation for police department improvements. Mr. Anthony Iavino of Bakari and Iavino Architects.
Thank you. You should have received 3 different versions as well as the existing plans for reference. And then I also put together a summary of the points and an opinion of the probable construction value. When I was here last, we talked about trying to explore further into this room from the police department, which is just beyond that wall, possibly going further out behind the council chambers here. First thing I did after our meeting was to look further back behind here. I don't know if anybody's had a chance to go back here, but we have, there's a radio tower right behind that first window behind you in the corner as I'm facing the room. A couple of air conditioning units right behind the wall, and then the generator. Just past this point, to my left, we go downhill pretty quick. So while it is physically possible, I didn't feel it was most feasible, and I explored other options as well, more than even what I'm showing here tonight. What I want to do is just run through these 3 options and have a conversation about the pros and cons of them. So the first image you have in your packet is just the existing plans for reference. Those are the ones without color. My first option, actually all 3 of these, expands the police department in, if you will, the alleyway to the south with what I'm showing here in yellow. That's the prisoner handling. The Sally Port garage, which enters into a processing room which has 2 cells and an interview room. Those are the requirements by the Department of Corrections. In this scenario, the interview room is in the blue section because it's part of the existing building. The other item that's consistent with these 3 versions is what happens at the lobby. When you come into a police lobby, you're supposed to have a public restroom so that if somebody comes in there and needs to use the restroom, they don't go into the secure zone, they stay in the public lobby. You're also supposed to have a soft interview room, which we also call a family interview room, considering items such as domestic dispute, where you would have one party in that soft interview and the other party in the hard interview areas. And those are all the requirements of Department of Corrections. So we handled that in option number one by having that addition, as I just mentioned. And then we are reconfiguring the lobby by having the family interview room and the bathroom. These spaces displace the chief and the detective's office, as well as an existing bathroom. Anything we do has to be done with ADA, barrier-free access in mind, right? So the existing bathroom displacing also becomes handicap accessible. So that core right there is a displacement from the offices to these requirements. That forced me to shuffle some things around, and in this version, I'm proposing in yellow a modest addition that would be out in the front. It's a very small area, and it's probably a little tight, but I wanted to explore that as an option. The rest of this would be, in order to get to those offices, I need to reconfigure this office that's in this corner, which I believe is the captain's and lieutenant's office. The break room is here now. I'm putting the detectives here. Ideally, in a small department, all of the offices are near each other. So I'm trying to avoid putting anybody downstairs if possible. I would love to get windows for everybody, but the reality is I don't have the surface area to do that. So in this scenario, I move the kitchen downstairs. So downstairs, the only modification is taking the processing area and making it into a kitchen. That's a fairly easy renovation. So in this option, the total addition is just over 1,500 square feet. Almost 1,100 for the prisoner processing, and then the extra offices were about 500. The renovation is about 1,500 square feet. I put the dollar value on this at $1.4 million and change. That's displacement of the police department, a lot of renovation, but that's realistic. So I looked at it differently for option two, and I really tried to pare down what could be done. This option is a little smaller in that instead of the addition out at the front of the building, I am putting the offices in the basement. I'm taking the existing prisoner cells and the processing area, and I'm making that into 2 offices. So that would be the extent of the renovation at the basement. Upstairs, I have the same renovations at the lobby with the family interview room and the bathrooms. So you can see, even just by the color, the amount of renovation is smaller. So here, the addition is just under 1,100 square feet, and the renovation is just under 1,000 square feet. And I put the value for this right about $1 million. So about 400,000 or so less.
I'm sorry, can you repeat how many square feet again you said?
Sure. The addition is at 1,081 square feet. The renovation is 981 square feet. Do you want the numbers from the first version?
I had those. Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome. So from that, I started to look at what can happen inside of this room, council chambers. I will say too that I looked at the second floor addition, and because of ADA requirements, which we can't waive in the code, we would need an elevator. We would certainly need a set of stairs. The prisoner handling spaces are about a garage and cells and have a lot of weight, and I can't move them into the existing building easily. So I'm keeping them outside on the ground. I didn't find the second story option was truly viable in that you would lose the use of the police department while that was going on. And I think that's an important factor too. I can tell you that from experience that departments we've done that we had to move out, the cost for the trailers that need to be compliant with the state and utilities that you move are going to probably be, close to $1 million by the time you're done. It's crazy, but that's what it would be if you were picking up your department and moving it.
I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt.
Yep.
Just so I'm clear, the first 2 options, they were living through this reno? They were going to be in it?
I believe it can be done. It's disruptive. The first one especially is disruptive.
When was this building built?
Several times. I don't know the dates of, I think the police department was the latest. This was a different addition, I believe, and the main building was added and renovated a few times. So.
Okay.
So after our meeting, I looked at this, the plan of this space, right? And what we talked about was, can we take a sliver, right? For me, a sliver would be along this back wall here where the dais is. The width of an office plus a corridor would put us probably out to the edge of this door here, maybe about 15, 17 feet at the tightest. If you can just visualize moving the dais and this area here in front of us forward, we would probably end up with maybe 3 rows of chairs. I didn't see that as viable. And I sketched it, but I passed it up. But what it led me to was, all right, if we're gonna go that far, what happens? Just what happens if you use this whole room? And that's what I have here in 3, where, you know, the yellow part, the addition is the same 1,081 square feet. But now the blue, the renovation is much more significant. We're at 2,780 square feet. But what, what that gives you is a police department that gets all the way back to here with a separate exit out for safety. We would need that regardless if we took a sliver of the street. We then get better sized offices and storage. We're a little over-programmed on sergeants, but we're also shy on file space and things like that. So the title is there, but the idea is you're going to use this whole room, you can't use 80% of it. Doing so begs the question, what do you do with this? Right? So I know you don't want to hear me talk about the DPW, I got that at the last meeting. I looked at possibly combining the use behind that wall in the back of this room. It's a senior center. It's at a different floor level, right? Because you walk down the ramp to get into this room. It is conceivable that the council chambers could be all in one with seniors, but you would have to break down furniture and change it around every time you use it, and there are columns in the middle of that room. So I don't think that's truly viable. I started thinking about where we can put it, and reluctantly I looked at the DPW for the reason that the current version of our DPW isn't using the full top floor. We're about 2/3 of that building, the rest was open roof. So I'm seeing it as potentially the cheapest new space we can get that doesn't take up any additional land. In doing so, this second board I have here, this is the DPW. The area in blue would be the area that's dedicated to council chambers, courtroom. The space is required to comply with the administration of the courts for the county, for the judge, and their safety. In this diagram, you would come up the elevator and stair, you would have a meeting room that would be like a workroom for council or planning and zoning. You would have council chambers, which is essentially the size of this room that we're in now. You would have the judge directly off of the dais as part of the escape route out. And I also have violations, bathroom and kitchenette, which are the requirements of the court. So we would have a violations window right at the end of the council chambers, which the state and county would like to see you have. This also affords a lobby space, 2 handicap bathrooms, excuse me, a small meeting room for public defender, and then the workroom would also serve the prosecutor's office, because those 2 elements need a meeting space prior to court. The rest of the spaces would be for the DPW, and the DPW would still use the offices that they have downstairs in this building. So we wouldn't move them out of that. But the day-to-day and break rooms, locker rooms would all be within the DPW garage. So nobody's coming, from coming out on the road, coming into this building. It would all stay there. It would all be separated from the blue areas. So you would have your proper egress, separate entrances, a lobby space, and that area could be opened and closed separately. But here, you come into this building, you can travel up and down after hours. There it's completely contained. So I saw it as architecturally there are benefits. There's no doubt it costs more than doing more work. So when I looked at the numbers for that, the DPW, if you remember, we allocated, I think 4.9 million and changed, basically 5 million. The total number I'm seeing here, counting in the entire DPW complex, as well as the renovations here in this building for the police department as 7.6 million. Again, take away the 5 million from allocated for the DPW structure, it's 2.6 or so is the net difference. And I felt it was worth at least looking for. I think all three of these are viable.
What is that number again?
7.6 million.
So for 7.6 million, we would get a new DPW, a renovated and expanded, much expanded police department, and a newer, newly built
Right.
courtroom, council chambers above the DPW.
Correct. That's right. So those are the three options that I felt had the most validity when we were looking at the various options for solving the police department. So obviously you can choose that smaller one. The ramifications of that, I think, are mostly about the size of the police department, the spaces that you gain from that investment versus, and that, what I'm talking about there is number 2, which is the smallest. Number 1's a step up. But I think it complicates things and makes it harder for the police department to stay there during construction. And number 3, I think it's easiest because the DPW would have to happen first. This space would be able to be repositioned there. This becomes swing space for the police department, so a lot of those offices could happen here while construction is happening inside their space. I thought it was worth it.
I appreciate your due diligence.
Thank you.
A question?
Yeah.
What would be the timeline on these projects?
So number 3 is the only one that ties to something. We have to have the DPW done first, right? And DPW, that could start construction probably at the end of winter, early spring, just because of winter. Otherwise, we could start sooner. That's probably would take us to about a year from now, maybe a little longer. So we figure end of next year, DPW could be done. And then number 3 could start. And the renovation for number 3, I would anticipate probably start to finish in this building within 6 months. When I look at numbers, 1 and 2, I'm just working backwards, number 2, which just has the addition on the side and more modest renovation, I think that could be a 6-month window as well. When we look at number 1, it's more renovation, and it can't all be done at the same time because we have to keep the department operating. I would put that more toward a 9-month window.
Are there any other questions from anyone on council?
Yeah, just a breakout on the second floor of the DPW where you envision council chambers. Do you have a number just for that particular portion of the plan?
Just this portion, yeah.
Yeah.
I have the building.
Mhm. Okay.
that,
Was that the whole building?
Yeah, I have the line item without the markup as 4.6, so it would probably be, I'm estimating, because I have to add on the contingency and the escalation.
So like you have 695, does that sounds about right? Plus or minus
Yeah.
20.
Right, so we were essentially adding,
You're subdividing it basically.
yeah, I mean, right, so what was the DPW before? I think we had about maybe 2,500 square feet or so unused space,
Mhm.
roof space. So we're filling in that one.
And that's about 6. Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Can you remind me which one would require the temporary housing for the police?
I believe version 1, which has more interior renovation and nowhere to relocate, might have more disruption to the police department.
That would be an additional cost.
I thought you said it was the third option. Oh, you thought it was two? I thought it was
I
three.
thought it was two.
At least said these
I thought it was
two, we're gonna have to, these two are okay, this one would
The
require.
difference between those,
Uh-huh.
right, which is what, number one and number three. Sorry for that numbering.
That's okay.
Number three is what involves this room. And this room gives you that flex space to take some of the heat off of construction.
Okay.
So, you know, you would do it in phases.
So three's the
Fit this
least
area out
disruptive.
And move people here.
Because that's an additional cost we would have to consider. It's not factored in these numbers, correct?
I didn't put in the idea that we would put trailers out in the parking areas. I don't think we have, I think it's disruptive, but I don't think we have to move the department out. You know, I wanted, for instance, every version, I stay away from the finances, because I know we just renovated too. I don't want to undo stuff that you just.
We just did, right? There would be also costs for the broadcasting being over there as opposed to being here.
To some degree, right?
Mhm.
That's a minor element.
Is it?
Well, I think so in the scheme of things. I think either I would imagine you'd have a fiber optic connection between these two buildings, and all that AVIT would be in the courtroom like you have here now. Your equipment could be relocated, it's the wire.
Okay.
I know there's a lot to think about, and you haven't really had the chance to digest this. And just like last time, you know, again, I'd rather sit around a table and talk with all of you
Mhm.
and go through these plans, because there's so much more to them, I think. I certainly appreciate if you had a chance to think about it and get any comments.
Okay. Yep, thank you very much.
Thank you. Desiree, can I just mention, to those of you standing, there's about 8 seats here if you want to come have a seat.
What's the matter?
All right.
It's good for your legs.
Okay, we're gonna move on to report of the administrator.
Thank you, Council President. Residents and council, this is my report. Council, on August 14th. Mr. Sabino had concerns and questions regarding the volume of cars and safety of walking pedestrians near and around the Washington School.
Thank you.
Committee made up of council, mayor, administration, police, residents, professionals have been meeting to address those concerns. I met with Mr. Sabino on Monday, August 21st, 2023, to discuss his concerns and questions he brought up during the August 14th council meeting. Mr. Sabino and I had a very productive exchange of information. I feel I was able to clear up some misunderstandings that Mr. Sabino had on the matter. Of significance, I assured Mr. Sabino that no decision to install sidewalks has been made, nor is there funding for any sidewalk projects. Additionally, Mr. Sabino provided us with another suggestion or recommendation, which was in turn sent to our engineer and our police chief for any type of viability. It could probably be briefly described as rubber curbing, which essentially creates a separation between the roadway and the land, almost like a pseudo sidewalk, so to speak, without building a sidewalk. So that's in the hands of the police chief and the engineer at this point. Council President Morgan requested a township project tracker in order to keep the council informed with current information pertaining to those projects. I've requested the assistance of Ms. Witkowski, township clerk, with maintain the document. We are working on this together. Council President Morgan requested the creation of an online submission form for volunteer recognition. I spoke to Heather Henry, our township website manager. Ms. Henry and Council President Morgan will work together on the design and creation of the form. Councilman Sears discussed his continued concern of the traffic flow safety of vehicles at the recently constructed intersection at Washington Avenue and Pascack Road, specifically the merging of vehicles as they cross the intersection. Prior to the meeting, I requested Captain Calamari to conduct a traffic crash search for the intersection pertaining to the merging. I observed the following traffic lane signs and lane markings leading into the intersection. Eastbound Washington Avenue has lane markings beginning well in advance to the intersection. There's 5 signs indicating the lanes. Southbound Pascack Road has lane markings and 4 signs indicating the lanes. Westbound Washington Avenue has lane markings and 3 signs indicating the lanes. Northbound Pascack Road has lane markings and 3 signs indicating the lanes. I have not heard back from the county regarding the moving stop lines at the time I authored this letter, but I have since heard that they have moved the stop lines. I just haven't seen it myself. I did notice that there were no signs indicating that the lanes will merge once the motorist is through the intersection. I spoke to Mr. Ukimic, and he will discuss with his traffic engineering experts. Councilman Casio requested some beautification at Seniors Park. I requested DPW Superintendent Bill Lawler and Recreation Coordinator Dan Scuderi to provide recommendations, which they did, and I believe they already have or are going to add some additional plantings there. Councilman Sears requested additional information pertaining to Resolution 23301, refund of $6,000 to the Dugan family for escrow maintained as a performance guarantee for soil movement. Originally, a $9,000 performance guarantee was initially established. The project is 2/3 completed, and Boswell Engineering has authorized the 2/3 refund of the escrow funds, which is totaling $6,000. This is a common practice, and the resolution has been put back on the agenda for hopeful approval this evening. Updates: the 3 abandoned homes at the intersection of Washington Avenue and Pascack Road have been demolished and the debris has been taken away. A new perimeter fencing has been installed at Memorial Field, and the DPW is working to resolve the water runoff issue that washes away the mulch in the playground area. On August 21st and 22nd, 23, the EPA and New Jersey DEP conducted the team's meeting audit of the township stormwater management program. Each meeting lasted 2 hours. The topics of discussion focused on program management overview, pollution prevention, municipal ordinances, public involvement in education, and good housekeeping of municipal operations. The in-person on-site inspection was scheduled for the week of August 28th, which did occur, and I have a further update later on. On August 23rd, 2023, CFO John Quirkman, Deputy Treasurer Joy Apar, QPA Dina Tarabokia, and I met with Alex Brees and Gary Vinci to conduct our exit conference for the 22 annual audit. Final audit document is in your packet this evening, and I'm hoping we can have further discussion on the topic during the conference agenda. Tonight, I'm providing a verbal update on several large-scale township projects while Ms. Bukowski and I work on a project tracker. If you don't mind, I do have a rather lengthy update on the more significant projects that are currently going on in the township. Salem Road, as you know, Garcia Construction was awarded the bid on August 14th. The pre-construction meeting is scheduled for this Thursday, the 7th, and we will be finding out more about when the project will begin. The commuter lot and road program for 2023, the advertisement was sent to the paper on August 29th, and the bids are due in on September 14th. Just to remind, the streets that are being done are Beach, Cypress, Clark, and Sunset. And as part of that road program, we have to address some sinkholes and some water issues on Clark and Cypress. DPW facility, you know the updates from the previous presentation by Mr. Iavino. DPW vehicles that were approved under capital were both ordered. The emergency services building, we do have the certificate of occupancy. We owe our last payment, but we are holding off on that until TechCon completes what we're calling the last punch list. We did have a meeting on site on August 30th that was very productive. They are due to start working on that today and said that they will be done this week. In Gardner Field, Mr. Lawler and Dan Scudieri met with a vendor. They are establishing a plan to replace some of the rusted out equipment there. As you know, $30,000 was approved to do so. We obviously want to make good decisions without wasting money for those replacements and some additional equipment that are there. PD renovations, obviously we discussed earlier. Town Hall elevator, or QPA, is preparing bid specs for advertisement. Unfortunately, the purchase and installation of a refurbished or new elevator does not fall under state contract or co-op, so we'll have to go out to bid on that. The town hall roof is due to be replaced. We have our pre-construction meeting this Thursday on September 7th. It'll be a new roof and gutters. This is due to our insurance claim. We're hoping afterwards that we can do some much needed power washing and new paint to some areas of the building. Sherry Field, a new backstop was installed. The DPW is looking for time to repair the sunken patio near the flag by the parking lot. Memorial Field, new perimeter fence was also installed for the baseball field there. As I said earlier, DPW is working to address the water runoff that erodes the dirt and the mulch for the playground area. They're going to start this week taking out the dirt that accumulated there and then replacing the mulch. DPW is also looking on cleaning the interior and exterior of the field house. The swim club, we signed a proposal with Boswell Engineering for the survey. They began surveying last week. This will assist in ultimately deciding the layout of what you're going to do at that facility. Unfortunately, we still have not received the grant money. It seems as though there's always one more document or thing to do. As of right now, it's still in the hands, like I advised earlier in a previous council meeting, that we're still just waiting for the county to finally to sign off on its final and get that money. MS4 storm water mapping, we contracted with Boswell. This will take several months, but we're calling it the Cadillac version of our stormwater mapping that we already have. It will be upgraded, and that is actually being funded by the Tier A grant permit, $25,000 grant that we received. Public notice, where we are with that, that's the informational mailing that we're hoping to achieve to our residents on a townwide basis for proper care and maintenance of the Musquappsink Brook. And we also wanted to extend it to department heads, since we were going to pay for a townwide mailing. Our department heads to take advantage of any important information they wanted to present. Most departments had nothing, but some did. So we hope to have something to present to the council for the 9/18 meeting. As far as the Musquappsink Brook and the critical sanitary issues, Boswell is coordinating the emergency permit with the New Jersey DEP. Surveying is scheduled to begin hopefully this week or next week. DPW has been conducting weekly documented inspections of those critical sanitary issues identified as 7-1, 7-2. And the council has been provided with a tracking sheet. The project tracker I spoke about, Ms. Witkowski has created the layout for the project tracker, and we will begin providing this to council moving forward in writing. Our SP3, which is our stormwater pollution prevention plan, we've also contracted with Boswell to update the pollution plan. It's more of a living document that continuously is updated. As part of that, Mr. Pollard is working to present to council, hopefully for the 9/18 meeting, a dumpster ordinance. And believe it or not, we're going to have to revise the tree removal ordinance again, just to coincide with what the recommendations for DEP said. The dumpster permit's is really just if someone does have a dumpster, there's some requirements to make sure nothing drains into the stormwater system. We're getting close. Seniors Park, the mayor asked if we could just confirm and check the floodplain and wetlands. Actually, where the proposed bocce ball report would go, there is no restrictions there. So we will be, we've checked on the grant. We still have the grant money. We still have the match money. So the mayor has approved to work with Boswell Engineering on receiving a proposal to put bocce ball court there, and some beautification that was listed on the grant award. The EPA audit, again, went well with minor recommendations. Those recommendations were provided to us in writing this morning. We've already rectified, I would say, a good 80 to 85% of those minor issues. Some of the minor issues were labeling the barrels that are in the shed, in an appropriate manner. Making sure there's a tarp that fully covered the tire. So it was very, very minor things. Once the report is finished, it actually goes to their enforcement section, so we won't know of any possible penalties or directed plans. There was no promises made, but again, it was conveyed to me that these were very minor issues that we were working with. So overall, it was pretty positive. 22 audit exit conference. Again, I'd hope to have some time with you to discuss it under the conference agenda. Pascack Road resurfacing is underway. Police department sent out an update this morning that it's hopefully going to be done in September. 24, 25 best practices for employment that we are speaking with. There's many requirements from JIF. Ultimately, our labor attorney, Ray Wiss, will be signing a certification that we comply with everything. Of the major components of this is to adopt and distribute a new personnel manual, employee handbook, volunteer handbook for the fire department, et cetera. The much needed, training that we need to get done. As an example, harassment, we still have a few people that have to finish that. There's police department training, anti-harassment training. We already adopted the model civil rights resolution earlier in the year. So a lot of it focuses on policy and training, which we are doing very well. The deadline is November 1st. And as I said, our attorney will certify that we complied and we'll send it off to Jeff. The intersections, as far as the bus shelter, we're still waiting for, authorization for the property owner there on Pascack Road to have that bus shelter easement. The difference card and the healthcare plan, for the sake of brevity, I'll just go over very quickly. As you know, that we're due for some discussion later on in the evening. Unfortunately, last year, state health benefits plan premiums went up significantly, which affected the contributions of not only the members, but the township. The mayor and I were tasked to try and find an alternative to the state health benefits plan with the challenge of being equal to or better than. At this point in time, the difference card, again, appears to meet that qualification. It's been very important to the mayor and I to ultimately present something to the council that benefits the members as it does the residents, and as far as the budgetary needs for that. We've been working diligently with our labor attorney, who has in turn been working with the attorneys from the both unions, the PBA and the Teamsters. And ultimately, the decision has not been made by the mayor, but ultimately he wants to present something that he feels is, like I said, beneficial and meets the standards that are needed by our union contracts. Last page. Northgate HOA, we're working on with them to resolve the stormwater management facility there. Their challenge is it's going to be significant cost to the community members in Northgate to remedy that problem. However, we have constant contact with the HOA and the Falcon Engineering that provided an engineering study to remedy the problems there. Ms. Zaleski, our assistant to the mayor, and myself submitted the online right-to-know survey this year, the 2024 JIF application for insurance renewal, and submitted our 2022 OSHA forms that were required. The library roof, Ms. Rifkin is working on securing a proposal and hopes to have the roof done this fall. And lastly, we are meeting with Santec Engineering on the 7th to discuss the proposed improvements to Washington Avenue at the intersection of the off-ramp for the Garden State Parkway. So finally, hopefully, we'll have some type of presentation on the improvements there. And that completes my update. Thank you.
Thank you. I just needed clarity on one thing. Gardner Field Playground, you said the equipment will be replaced when?
We're waiting for a proposal now from the vendor. So
Okay.
it won't be a total replacement. It'll be kind of piecemeal that of those rusted parts
Yeah.
we discussed.
When you do that, will the park close for a short time, and will we get notice only? Because I don't think it's going to be
Yeah.
anytime soon, but there are Saturday practices every morning, and you have about 70 kids there.
Yeah, I'll assure that happens if in
Okay.
case it will be. Yeah.
Great.
We're hoping for it to be done this fall, but it's just a playground area.
Yeah,
But we'll make sure the public knows.
yeah, that's where they are. They're on that playground, so that would be difficult for what I do on Saturdays with them. Okay, thank you. Report of Mayor.
Thank you, Council President. I'm happy to say, in comparing notes with Mark on his very detailed report, we would have had a lot of overlapping topics. And since it was only 3 weeks since the last council meeting, when I checked with the department heads, they said since the unofficial end of summer was here, they really didn't have a lot to report. So I'm happy to say that I do not have a report tonight because Mark covered basically everything. So that'll save a few minutes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll move on to report of council. Councilman Casio.
Oh, sure. Good evening, everyone, and welcome back to the fall, and I hope everyone had a nice summer and a nice Labor Day. Things are going to start getting busy out there, so please be careful when you're driving. Traffic has already increased from Monday to Tuesday, so please be careful on the road. Just a few things to report. I'll start with this one. I don't know how many residents are aware of the New Jersey 211. That's a service that New Jersey provides. It's like 911, but it's assistance for our residents. And let me just read to you what they do. NJ 211 provides live assistance 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, every day of the year. Services are free, confidential, and multilingual. There are several ways to reach NJ 222. One, you can call by phone, you know the number, 211. You can do it via text. You got to add your zip code and text to this number, 898-211. You can do it by email, which is info@nj211.org, or you can go to the internet, they have a website, that's www.nj211.org, where you can look in your directory. But let me read you what they do. Whatever method you choose, you'll be able to communicate with a community resource specialist, a live person who has been educated about federal, state, and local systems to help people struggling. The specialists have access to a resource database of over 6,600 community programs and services that assist people who need help with life's most basic needs, like food, utilities, affordable housing, rental assistance, mental and physical health, substance abuse disorders, childcare, senior needs, and legal assistance. So I urge you, if you have any of those issues, please reach out to them. It's a great service that we have, and it's nice you get to talk to someone in person. There is another program that the state provides. This is for our seniors and people that are receiving social security disability benefits. It's called the Senior Gold Prescription Discount Program. It's a state-funded prescription program with a different copay structure for income and eligibility guidelines. And those guidelines are basically 65 or older, or if you're on SSI. And those income limits are $42,000 to $59,000. There's another one for pharmaceuticals. This one is called the Pharmaceutical Assistance to the Aged and Disabled. And I know I'm probably speaking fast, but I'm going to give all this information to Sue, and she's going to put it on the board for us. This is the Pharmaceutical Assistance to the Aged and Disability Program, PAAD for short, PAD. It's a state-funded program that helps eligible seniors and individuals with disabilities to save money on their prescription drug costs. Again, it's open to all New Jersey residents, and the income is a little bit different. It is $42,000 to $50,000. Another one that I'd like to go over is it's a federal program. It's called the FCC's Affordable Connectivity Program. It can help qualified applicants get a discount of up to $30 on their internet bill and a discount up to $100 on qualifying devices. Information on the program and how to apply can be found on the program's website. Applications can be completed both online and by mail, or you can call the following number, 1-877-384-2575. So those are some programs I think everyone should have access to. Hopefully it can help some people out if they're in need. The other thing, Mr. Caesar and I went down to the brook back in August, and we looked at the sanitary lines along the brook, and we know that there's a lot of work that has to be done, and I'm glad to hear that we have our engineer on the job. It's amazing how much erosion has happened down there over the years, and it's something that I know we're going to take care of, and it's necessary. I talked to a couple residents specifically about the crosswalk going from Manhattan across Pascack Road to the shopping center. And I believe since they're going to repave that, that's going to be taken care of. I'm sure they're going to put lines there. And there was a couple resident complaints about, I think it's Ellen Court Road that leads into the high school. There seems to be potholes there, so I'm going to ask the mayor and the administrator to look into that. There were a couple complaints. And, we'll go around town asking people what their concerns are. And I told them any concerns that they have, I'll bring to the council. And that's what I did. So that concludes my report for this evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Casio. Councilman Sears.
Thank you, Council President Morgan. Can we have the TV guy throw that slide up?
WCTV.
Well, this is going to be our welcome gift back to both grammar schools. Every kid will receive a package. They'll have a pencil case, pencils, library cards. They have photos of police officers. They have a band, and they have an American flag, and they also have a child ID in the package. So both grammar schools every kid will receive this package going forward. It's a welcome back to school gift from the Green Team. Rick, cable TV guy, you can remove that. Our state waterway cleanup is going to be September the 16th. We're going to meet by the bridge over the brook at 10 a.m. in the morning. We have a minor cleanup along the brook, and then we're going to finish up the bridge beautification project we're joining part of the state waterway cleanup. So that will be September the 16th at 10 a.m. by the bridge over the brook. We joined with Easy Ride. I want to thank the police department for assisting me in getting this project moving. Easy Ride is going to study traffic on Beach and Colonial Boulevard before getting to George School. They're going to be setting some items up to verify the speed, and I want to thank Sergeant Block if he's here. Thank you and the chief, thank you for helping me to get this project moving. Back in April, I applied for a Bergen County mini grant for a cleanup in April, and I was awarded $650, I was told today. So that money will go towards a green project going forward. Thank you, Council President Morgan.
Thank you, Councilman Sears, and thank you for your work. That's great. We could have put that on the PSA, the September 16th cleanup.
I'll get it on the bulletin board.
Bulletin board, okay.
Thank you.
Okay, and Councilwoman Velez?
Yes, thank you. So my report is actually short this time around. In August, we welcomed Big Hicks, which was a country music band. We had a great time. It was a great turnout. As usual, 80-20 Smash was on scene, and once again, they sold out of their infamous or famous burgers, 223 to be exact. We want to thank Bethany Community Center for hosting our residents and allowing them to park there. We also had Kona Ice, and a big thank you to the DPW, the police, and Joe Caparelli, who helped us set up our electricity. So thank you all. On September 11th, Monday, September 11th, we will be having our ceremony at 6 p.m. It is scheduled for outdoors, but should there be inclement weather, then it will be moved inside. All participants are asked to show up by 5:45 so we can have a 6 p.m. sharp start. As I mentioned last month, on October 7th, we will have our annual Town Day. It is from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. at Memorial Field. We are still looking for sponsorship, and we are very much in need of volunteers. Volunteers doesn't just have to be kids. It could be adults. It could be a way to spend time with your children, doing something positive, giving back to the community. So we encourage all to come out and volunteer just a couple of hours on hopefully a beautiful Saturday morning. Again, that's October 7th, 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. at Memorial Field. And then I wasn't going to touch upon this, but I figured this was the best time to do it. About a year and a half ago, Council President Morgan and I think we toured the police station, right? And, we got an idea of how the layout was and everything that went down. And then a couple weeks ago, a resident approached me to offer a visit to their new police station out in Garfield, because as we recall, Garfield was was the place where they had that incident that the arrestee was escaped. So I took his offer and I spoke to the chief, Chief Skinner, our chief, and asked if he would be so kind to accompany me. So we went down to Garfield and visited. It's a beautiful facility, much bigger than what I feel we would need. But it did open up my eyes to the lack of efficiency that we have in our building, and everything that we are putting our professionals through. So upon returning, because I was trying to work off memory, I asked if I could see our facility once again to kind of compare mental notes. And it just was an eye-opener of how inefficient we are running, but yet our men and women are doing a fantastic job with what they have. So I do want to, applaud our police department for their work. But I do encourage council, now that these plans were presented to us, that they do themselves a favor and see what is really out there and what we are lacking, so that we can make an educated decision as to exactly where we could do better, right? And we always want to do a little bit better. So if anybody is open to tour, I'm sure the members of Garfield or another community would be happy to host us. But it is a way for us to have exposure as to what we have versus what it should look like, and where we are not compliant, but yet being granted a lot of, what's that word, Chief? Exception.
There's a lot of exceptions to
Exceptions.
the DOJ requirements.
Yes, so we've been fortunate in that sense. And I'd be happy to go with any member of council if that is something that you would like to do. And that is it. That's what I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman Boaz. For my update, on Thursday, August 31st, I attended the Westwood Regional Board of Ed meeting. I was in attendance with several of our residents, and each of us presented some of the strong points, I think, that have been presented here at this meeting and that have been witnessed personally up at Washington School and the traffic flow issues that are up there. In attendance were obviously all of the board members, as well as Mr. Keith Rosato, the school's business administrator, Dr. Jill Mortimer, the superintendent. And Mr. Rosato stated that they are having open discussions with the town, which is excellent. The mayor, the administrator, and the engineer was invited to a finance meeting where the school's architect presented a proposal for the expansion. It's very preliminary. It has not even been to date as of the August 31st meeting. It has not even been sent to the state for approval or for them to look at yet. So Dr. Mortimer explained that because it's so preliminary, that as soon as they have something more concrete, that the public will be given a presentation. So I look forward to that. What else? For everybody in attendance, I think there were probably 5 or 6 in a row, people who were truly and strongly trying to impress upon the Board of Ed what the situation is at Washington School and how dangerous it is. Unfortunately, I feel that it may have fallen flat to the larger issues that were in that room at the meeting. So while I feel they were understanding, I feel that the board was under a lot of pressure from both sides for other issues non-related to the traffic flow. With that said, I wasn't sure they heard us, but they did, because the very next day, I received an email from one of the board members. And the whole meeting, we were trying to impress upon them that the residents and the stakeholders are the ones that will be mostly impacted. I reminded them that it's our money that will fund this expansion. Again, they were super responsive, I thought, at face value, but again, understanding and reading the room, there were bigger issues on my left and my right. For anybody who's attended the Board of Ed meetings, you know what I'm referring to. However, I did get, like I said, I did get the email from Mrs. Peterson, and I would like to thank her for her willingness to be so transparent and collaborative with us as the expansion discussion evolves. She did not have to respond to me, but it was clear that among all of the I would say, I don't even know, the tension in the room, they were still able to hear what is super important to the residents. So the Board of Ed did hear you. The mayor and the administrator have met with them. So we are working on coming up with a resolution to this, something that will work for both sides. I would also like to publicly thank Kevin Zitko for his beyond generous donation to the Township Mini Cards Cheer Program. Kevin donated an entire sound system, including the microphone, Bluetooth speakers. I can't even imagine how much this costs, but he gave it to us free of charge to the program so that our girls could enjoy the national anthem properly. We are very appreciative, and I cannot thank him enough. And that is all I have for tonight. Okay. I'm going to open to general public comment. To participate in the general public comment portion of the meeting, please click on the link below to join the webinar. If by phone, *9; to raise your hand, *6; to unmute. Each person wishing to address the council shall give his or her name for the record, and we ask that only one person speak at a time with a 5-minute limit. Speakers are to direct all questions to the council president. All members of the public and council are expected to conduct themselves in a proper manner. Any derogatory, abusive, or threatening statements will not be permitted, and the council president will immediately rule such conduct out of order and terminate any further comments. Motion to open public.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Is there anybody that would like to come up?
Good evening. My name is Anthony Mazzo. I'm the delegate for the Pascack Valley PBA Local 206, trustee to the Bergen County Conference of Delegates, and I'm the labor representative for the men and women of the Washington Township Police Department. I'm speaking to you this evening regarding the township's attempt to change our members' health insurance plan without negotiations or transparency. I'd like to bring a few items to your attention that have not been clarified to our membership. Is the governing body aware that these third-party health brokers are currently under review by a subcommittee of the state's Plan Design Committee? Because these plans undermine the rates and plans in the state. Soon, there's going to be regulations put in place that put limits on how much these plans can be funded. We have not received any guarantees that in-network and out-of-network co-pays and co-insurances will be fully funded. We have been told that prescription co-pays will be fully reimbursed. However, it's a violation of the rules of the state health benefit plan to subsidize prescription co-pays. We've received inconsistent data points that are predicting future savings that are under the assumption that the rates will increase at an unsustainable 9% each year. Respectfully, it would be irresponsible to rush a vote before the open enrollment period in October without having or showing all the information available. The state will approve a special enrollment period once a fair deal is negotiated. I would also point out that we've been told that these changes are non-negotiable. However, the state cannot approve changes to the benefit plan unless the language in the CNA is updated. We are open to fair and transparent negotiations, but we cannot approve a deal in the manner that it's been presented. If the governing body chooses to vote and move forward with these changes to our benefits package, we will have no choice but to aggressively protect our membership's benefits. Respectfully urging the council to suspend this vote, come to the negotiating table where we can exchange information and concerns. Thank you.
Thank you.
Desiree, can I just make a quick comment on that?
Sure.
I do take exception when you say without transparency. I've been available for meetings. The administrator, our labor attorney, has been available for meetings. So I do take exception to your remark about no transparency. I've offered to meet with the PBA a few times. No one's taken me up on it. I understand why, because these things sometimes have to be worked out between attorneys. But I'm sorry, I do take exception with when you say without transparency.
Mayor and Council, name is Lenny Sabino. Last Thursday, as the council president mentioned, August 31st, several residents, including the council president, but not in an official capacity, she was there as a township resident, attended the Westwood Board of Education meeting as the 2024 board goals were going to be discussed, and one of the goals surrounded the district school expansion. During the public forum, several residents, including myself, asked the Board of Ed several questions around the expansion plan. I will let the residents inform you of their questions. Well, my questions to the board were, what is the status of the Washington School expansion plan? Is there a traffic plan included as part of the expansion plan? And what are the protocols and procedures for informing the mayor and council of their expansion plans, as any expansion will impact the neighborhood? In response to my question, Mr. Rosato mentioned that there was a meeting with the mayor, town administrator, and town engineer early in the year, and that based on that conversation, sidewalks were included in the expansion plans submitted for approval. Mr. Rosato never addressed my question around the traffic plan, nor the required communication protocols between the Board of Ed and the mayor and council. As you can imagine, this came as a complete shock to the residents that were in attendance, including the council president who sat behind me. I asked the council president, who was sitting behind me, if she was aware of this development. She said no. I called Councilman Sears on the way home, and I said, Tom, were you aware that sidewalks were included in this plan? And Tom said no. The next day, I spoke with the mayor and the town administrator. They were surprised at Mr. Rosato's comments. They confirmed that there was a facilities meeting with the Board of Education earlier this year, but besides sidewalks, other alternatives were discussed. No decision on sidewalks was made at that meeting. The mayor and Mark reiterated several times during our call that the decision on sidewalks had not been finalized, and only the council can approve a budget for construction of sidewalks. And I confirmed that with the ordinance 433, that the power of approving of sidewalks is with the council. Since the initial meeting with the Board of Ed, the mayor and town administrator informed me that they never heard back from the Board of Ed on their discussion. I have four questions of the mayor and council. The first one is, Mayor, town administrator, have you spoken to Mr. Rosato to obtain a plan that was submitted to some authority for approval to better understand his response to my questions around the Washington School expansion? What did Mr. Rosato say? What are the established meeting protocols between the mayor and council and Board of Ed on the topic of the Washington School expansion and their plans on the expansion's impact on the neighborhood? My understanding is that the mayor and town administrator will be taking over the leadership of the sidewalk committee. What are the plans for the next meeting? And the last question I have is, Councilman Sears, maybe a couple of months ago, had mentioned that there was a safety study that was performed. So Tom, maybe you can give us an update on exactly what that study that you commissioned, what were the results and conclusions surrounding sidewalks and safety? Great, thank you.
All right, so I'm going to ask the mayor if he would like to answer any of those. If not,
Yes,
need some time.
No, I'm happy to.
Okay.
Is now the appropriate time?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. I might have missed your second one, Lenny, but as far as hearing from Mr. Rosato, I have not, and I don't think Mark has heard from him since we left that meeting that occurred back in May. I just want to state, because it was said twice, maybe they looked at the proposal from the architect after we left the meeting, because they were kind enough to put us up first and then we left. But while we were there was no discussion that they were going to discuss plans for the building, or we might have stayed. But we had a nice interaction with them. We thought no option was off the table. A few alternatives were brought up that were being looked into. So again, I can't say enough. No definite decision has been made on sidewalks from myself or the council. As you said, the council would have to approve the money for that. As far as leadership of the committee, I'm unaware of that change. So I don't know where you heard it from, don't need to have a dialogue, but maybe we can discuss it offline. And if you want to repeat your second question, I'm sorry, I didn't get
Oh,
it.
what are the established protocols of meetings between the Board of Ed and the Mayor and Council concerning the Washington School expansion plan?
There are none currently. Let me say, I would hope, working in partnership, that they would reach out to us when they feel they're at the point where it would need discussions with our police department to review traffic and safety and things like that. But so far, I've not heard from anyone, again, outside this meeting in May.
Okay. But with respect to the plan, Mr. Rosado specifically mentioned a plan. And I know this occurred last Thursday, and I spoke to both you and Mark on Friday, so I know you didn't have time to react. But I think it'd be prudent that you speak to Mr. Rosado, get an understanding as to what is this plan that he's talked about in response to my questions, and maybe if that, hopefully that plan would be put on the township website for all of us to see, to better understand what are the plans specifically around
1
traffic.
minute, Mr. Sabino.
All right, thank you. Will Tom be able to answer my question?
Yes, Tom, can,
Yeah, I'm
Councilman
gonna
Sears.
email it out to him. I'll send you a copy of it.
And I just want to clarify the committee meeting that you referenced. So back in May, hold on a second. I believe it was May. I can't remember. I have it written somewhere. Anyway, back in May, we had our very first committee meeting that I asked to have regarding the traffic flow committee, because I felt that it was important enough to have a meeting designated for that with stakeholders. It was not a public meeting. It was more of a information sharing, idea sharing meeting. And we had a follow-up one, I believe it was July 31st. It was after that meeting that it came to light that per the form of government that we have, I am not permitted as a council person to lead or have a meeting outside of a public meeting. Have a committee outside of the public meeting. It's like a gray area that really we should not cross over. So the mayor and the administrator were taking the we're taking the lead, I believe, in future follow-up of that meeting. Is that correct, Mayor?
Most of it is. However, I thought in our conversation, we agreed that to get around that, we would co-chair the committee, just to get around that issue, let me say.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. All right, so the next meeting will be co-chaired by myself, Tom, the mayor, and Mr. DiCarlo. So there's that. And then in discussion, I think that I don't want to say everybody should continue to go to the Board of Ed meetings to talk about the traffic flow. But I think it was helpful that we were there and they saw the faces of the people who will be affected, and they heard our conversations, and I don't want that to fall on deaf ears or for it to be an afterthought when they are designing something. Something clearly was put together by their architect, not our town architect, but the school's architect. Something was put together because Mr. Rosado continued to mention he hadn't even submitted it to the state yet. So he's submitting something. And I do think that the administration, we should reach out to him to, I don't want to, how do I say this? Push our way through to say we need to be part of that discussion. We need to be part of that solution because it affects us, the people who live here. It's our budget, it's our money going toward that. It's going to have a compounding effect years and years from now. So if they're going to build something before it gets approval, before it even goes to the state, we should see preliminary renderings of it. So I'm going to, ask that if that's not something that I can do from this seat because of our form of government, I'm going to punt that off to administration and ask that you take the reins on that and just kind of keep me informed on it, because I'm going to continue to go to every Board of Ed meeting to address that. All right. Anyone else would like to come up? Sorry. Sure, come on up. No, no, they don't have guns. They have guns. He said they have guns.
I wasn't planning on speaking. My name is Michael Ferrini. I'm here for represent PBA 206.
Could you speak? Can't hear you. Thank you.
Okay. We have been transparent. We have been communicating back and forth with our attorney to your attorney. We were told on behalf of the town, the difference card program will be mandatory to all township employees, including the PBA members. We are willing to sit down and negotiate at this point. But you were telling us we are coming out of the state health benefit plan and only being allowed to use the benefit card, which is a third-party carrier, which does not work with Horizon. Horizon already stated that we would go to their lowest direct plan, 2035. Out-of-network costs will cost us 40% from 20%. The savings that you're saying we may have is approximately $300 per employee. Right now, it may cost us $14,500 for out-of-pocket network costs. The difference card does not work overseas when we talk to the company that was here. Also, one of their employees out of the 5 does not use their benefits. We have a few concerns. We are willing to sit down and talk about it. We just ask that you table the vote to have a full discussion with us on all the matters that we have. Thank you.
Thank you. Sorry. Come on up.
Good evening, Michael DeSena, 347 Beach Street. Good evening, Council President Morgan and Mayor Council. 3 quick things. The solution that Washington School has to deal with circulation and not sidewalks. Kids are still not going to walk to school whether you build sidewalks or not. So you need to look at the traffic and look at the circulation pattern, that the kids are being dropped off on the right side of the road so they can get out. So they can get out of the car on the right side of the road and move traffic along. Sidewalks are not the answer, I'm telling you. If you look at other towns that have done this, it all revolves around how the circulation pattern around the school gets the kids in and out of the cars. That's the only way it's going to get fixed. You can build all the sidewalks you want. The children do not walk to school anymore. We may have walked to school when we were young kids. They just don't anymore. I don't know why. Second thing I have, Mrs. Morgan, is can the mayor and council and ask the administrator, there's garbage cans on the streets of Washington Township every day of the week. And this is all because of our change in carriers. We now have Monday pickups, Tuesday pickups, Wednesday pickups, Thursday pickups, Friday pickups. So every day on my street, because the 5 of our neighbors all have different garbage haulers, there's garbage cans outside every day. So can we, I know they'll say, well, we pick up on Monday, so we know only the cans that are out on Mondays are ours. We could put a sticker on our cans and they can come all on Wednesday and pick up all the garbage on Wednesday. And then we don't have cans on the street on Monday and Tuesday, on Thursdays, on Friday. It's every day. It's all weekend because some people decide to put them on Friday, which is their prerogative. But can we do something to limit the amount of pickups we have in town? I know we did in the past. We told the carriers you can only pick up on Tuesdays and Thursdays. And it was only 2 days. And we'd work our recycling in those 2 days. We'd work our grass pickup within those 2 days. And we didn't have garbage cans out every day. So if there's something we could do and look at that, that'd be a real quality of life issue for all the residents. And my last thing is to Mr. Poller. Thank you. Thank you. Welcome back, by the way. You're not on Zoom anymore. So, when residents and township people come in front of any boards, one of their petitions they have to present is that their taxes are paid. Right? They can't appear before a zoning board or a planning board without their taxes being paid.
That's the way it's supposed to be, correct?
Correct. So is there something we could do that everybody on this dais or all daises have their taxes paid before they vote on increasing or decreasing our taxes? Because it's not fair that every resident that comes in front of the zoning board and planning board has to give a certificate that says, my taxes are up to date. However, we have members in all places that may not have taxes up to date. So how is that fair that that person's allowed up on the dais in a position of power to increase my taxes or decrease my taxes, hopefully, but make votes on it when their taxes aren't up to date? but I can't appear here for a zoning variance or a planning variance without my taxes being paid
Well, first of all, you can appear here and your taxes don't have to be paid.
to the mayor, I'm sorry, the mayor council, yes.
Council, you know. So, yes, you can appear.
This is not my
here
5
because
minutes, is it?
This is an
Mark?
elected council, elected mayor. Election is different than appointed boards and the way boards operate. So if you're putting an application forth,
Correct.
and you're looking for relief and affirmative action by a board, you have to be up to date with the taxes because it's prescribed that it is. But there's no prescription for that for anybody participating before the council, nor is there anything that I'm aware of that says that anybody on this body, anybody up here, has to have their taxes paid up to date in order to cast a vote.
Well, I'd like-
What gives them the right to do that is the fact that they were duly elected and sworn in, that kind of thing.
Well, I think the council should strongly come up with some verbiage that, you know, when you're going to vote on these topics, that you're up to date and that you are in good standing order with the town's tax assessor. Thank you.
Thank you. You can come up.
Thank you, Madam President. Mr. Mayor, members of the council, my name is James Tosone, T-O-S-O-N-E. I live on Kennedy Drive, and I've been a resident since 1988. I'm here tonight as a member of the New Jersey Libertarian Party. We have a project underway called the Preemptive Ordinance Repeal Project. While each town in New Jersey has a set of ordinance tailored to its specific needs, you may be aware that towns are prohibited or preempted by the state from passing certain types of ordinances. Nonetheless, many towns have on their book ordinances that violate preemption. Washington Township has two such ordinances, Chapter 296, loitering, and Chapter 342, peace and good order. The state has already set the balance between our public assembly and free expression rights and the need to maintain peace and good order. Washington Township does not have the authority to alter that balance. There are 10 towns that have already repealed nearly identical ordinances as ours, including Andover, Butler, Elmwood Park, Flemington, Long Branch, and Perth Amboy. The head of our preemptive ordinance repeal project, John Paff, P-A-F-F, sent a letter via email on August 10th to Mr. Poller and to Ms. Witkowski, advising them of this and requesting that you discuss this issue. I ask tonight that you ask Mr. Poller to review our letter and to recommend to the council that you repeal these ordinances by the appropriate procedure. We believe this to be a relatively straightforward matter, so we ask that it be accomplished in a timely manner. I thank you for your attention and for all that you do to help make our town a nice place to live.
Mr. Tosone, just very quickly, can you repeat the second ordinance that you felt was violated?
Yes,
342.
342, peace and good order.
It was in our email.
Yes.
Yes,
So-
Mr. Mayor, did you want to say something? I thought you said my name. Okay.
Okay, so I did receive the email. I'm not, and it is going to be discussed, it just wasn't going to be discussed tonight. There are many important issues before the council that need to be taken up, and unfortunately, that's not one of those of the most pressing matters. I also can tell you that I'm not sure that I agree 100% with everything that was in the email. By the way, the council and the mayor already got that letter, so everybody's aware of it. I'm not sure that I agree with the preemption on every issue that was discussed. There was interpretation of cases. I'm well aware of the preemption doctrine itself. But there is a gray area of what is preempted, absolutely preempted, and what is not. I did note that there was not one Bergen County town that you gave in your list, and you gave a list of 9 or 8 towns, and nothing even close to anything like Bergen County or the Pascack Valley or any of the towns here. Not to say that it's not correct or incorrect, but it's one of the things that I did notice. But the long and the short of it is that I am looking at it. I will report to the council about it. There will be a discussion about it. But it does take its priority along with other matters that have to be taken care of by the council.
We have identified 20 towns potentially.
I'm so sorry. We're not able to speak from the seat. I'm so sorry.
Yeah, you can't, it doesn't matter that you
We've
have identified
identified,
20 that may.
just to respond to your
I'm
comment.
just telling you that as of now, you've given 9 or 8, and none of them are Bergen County. And as I said afterwards, I said, that doesn't answer the question anyway, I just remarked. So the fact that other towns are looking at it, I'm sure Mr. Path has sent them the same letter he sent to me. So I'm sure they consider it.
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
All right, thank you. I just want to remind everybody, if you move away from the podium and you sit down, your 5 minutes stops. So please stay at the podium if you want a dialogue and we are able to offer that to you. If we have to get back to you via email at another time or something, we will let you know, but please stay at the podium and don't speak from the seat. Thank you. Come on up.
Hello, Emily Kratzer, White Birch Road. I would like to reiterate my comments from a previous meeting that traffic flow around all of our schools in the town gets crazy. It's not just Washington School. And I'd like to reiterate that I think that the best solution for that is to resume busing for the district. I realize there's issues with that too, but I think that would be the most practical way to cut down on the extreme volume that we see at our school campuses. At the meeting we had that BOE President Pontillo called in on, he talked about the problems they had at Berkeley School and how they remedied that. So as I say, there are traffic flow problems at each one of the schools. Busing would cut that. It would take the kids off the street. It would take the families off the street, and it might be the best solution. I do want to emphasize that again at a Board of Ed meeting, which is perhaps not quite as volatile as the last one. Thank you. That's my comment.
Thank you.
Sure.
You're next. I'll let you up next. Okay.
Good evening. My name is Ann Palucci. I'm a resident of Township of Washington. I live on Wayne Place. I'm here tonight to speak about the traffic around Washington School and the expansion and the importance of collaboration with the Board of Education in the proposed Washington School expansion. We've lived on Wayne Place for well over a decade. My husband and I are in the process of completing a pretty major renovation on our property, so we have invested a lot in this neighborhood, literally and figuratively. And we'll be living in this neighborhood long after you all are out of office and current students and parents of Washington School have long moved on to other schools. In addition, we are parents with children who have graduated from Washington and one current student in Washington School. And so needless to say, we are major stakeholders. We are both also educators, and I'm an educational administrator who understand the importance of collaboration between the town and the school district to solve difficult and complex problems. And unfortunately, that collaborative and democratic process has felt like it's really fallen short in some cases as part of this process. So, what we are left with, which was sidewalks, was an unimaginative, uncollaborative solution that doesn't solve the traffic problem or meet the needs of the residents and the school district. It, quite frankly, lacks critical thought and any creativity and ingenuity. And I think I know our elected officials can do better. I don't think the needs of the parents, students, teachers need to be pitted against the needs of the residents, because there are solutions to this problem that meet everyone's needs with a little creative thinking. And when there feels like there is a political agenda that is being pushed from the beginning, that will not allow for that creativity and ingenuity and critical thinking, because we can all find solutions together. We were told from the beginning, when we were doing our renovation, the town engineer told us, well, we would most certainly have sidewalks, which was news to us because nobody had spoken to us about this. And we had not heard about this at all. Come to find out, had not been voted on yet. We were told that at the first sidewalk committee meeting that the town engineer was told not to look at solutions on school property. And we thought, well, why not? Because knowing schools, I mean, that's in our mind, the best solution would be to find a designated area on school property where you could have parking and a safe drop-off and pickup area. So I'm really happy to hear at tonight's meeting that there is some good efforts and to collaborate with the Board of Education. And I would really, really encourage you to do that and to continue to do that and to work through any previously sort of conceived ideas about what would work to find more creative solutions to the problem that will benefit everyone, because there is a way. This does not have to be a divisive issue. We are all in it together. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else? I'm so
Desiree,
sorry.
Can I just make a quick comment on
Yes.
that? Thank you for your comments. I just want to say one thing. We cannot have our town engineer going on school property and making recommendations. That's why we're working with the Board of Ed to hopefully get their buy-in to do it. But our town engineer can look at a lot of things in town, but he can't just go on Board of Ed property and start making recommendations. Thanks.
Okay, just 1 second. I'm sorry. I did promise you. You can come up.
I thought you were saying the best for last.
Good evening, Council President, Mayor, council members. I'm David Bauman. I'm Vice President and Business Representative for Teamsters Local 125, and we represent the Washington Township DPW workers. Excuse me, got a little short. We appear here this evening in solidarity with the PBA and its members in opposition to the proposal and echo their sentiments regarding the proposed alterations and amendments to the employees' health care benefits. We believe the difference card program is in its infancy and has not enough time and experience in practice to prove itself as a reliable, cost-saving alternative. We've sent our position statement to the township's labor attorney and remain open to any and all discussions regarding this matter. We ask that the council postpone any vote on this matter until we're able to discuss this matter further with the township. Thank you for your time
Thank you.
and consideration.
Thank you. You can come up. I'm sorry.
Hello, Mayor, Council, fellow residents. My name's Norman Bellion. I live on Whitebridge Road. Been a resident since 1992. My background is in facility operations and management. I'm a chief engineer, and one of the things we do is we look at problems, look for the root cause of that problem, and then try and fix it. So recently, there's been much discussion about the installation of sidewalks as a potential remedy for our traffic congestion woes. I agree, traffic is the problem. Sidewalks have nothing to do with fixing traffic, okay? While the idea of sidewalks is certainly well-intentioned and has its merits, I have to argue that sidewalk installation alone will not fix traffic congestion problems. In fact, this approach actually oversimplifies the complexity of the issue and may divert resources away from more effective solutions. The current lack of sidewalks is not the problem, and installing sidewalks will not fix the root of the problem. The root of the problem is traffic congestion. First and foremost, we must recognize that traffic congestion is multifaceted with numerous contributing factors. It's not simply a matter of accommodating pedestrians better, but it's about improving overall flow of traffic, reducing bottlenecks, and enhancing the efficiency of the process. One might assume that the installation of sidewalks near schools would naturally enhance the safety of our children as they walk to school. While sidewalks can play a role in improving safety, relying on sidewalks to address traffic safety near schools may not yield the expected results. The problem is the traffic. People drive their huge SUVs on streets where 15 or more years ago, when the school was put in, this was not a problem. People walked to school. People rode their bikes to school. Kids ride their bikes to school. I think we need to start pushing that type of thing to alleviate the problem. It's like when I come home at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, it's like rush hour. I'm afraid to drive down the street where I fully expect somebody to come whipping around the corner too fast because they didn't bother to stop at the stop sign on White Birch Road. There's a lot of other issues that sidewalks aren't going to help. I know we had help from the police department last year. Stopping cars, ticketing cars that were running the stop signs. Also, whoever came up with the idea of limiting the parking, that was a great idea. I think we should limit parking on both sides of the street, on all those streets in question, during the period where school's letting out. Add to that environmental concerns. You want to come in, you want to put in sidewalks. You're taking down at least 50 trees, you're removing hundreds of square feet of grass. All this added to the desire to be in this neighborhood. You're taking it away. You're taking away these items that create oxygen for the air for us to breathe. To give people who want to drive their gas spewing, pollution spewing SUVs around town. Let's get out and walk.
1 minute left, sir.
1 minute left. All right, so I urge the council before making any decisions on sidewalks to consider more effective alternatives, such as the no parking on both sides, please. Emily's idea of busing, also a great idea. And we should press the school board to assist in this. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else that would like to come up?
A little tall. Alex Ruiz, Cypress Street here in town. Probably an unpopular opinion from the rest of the room, but I figure I'd offer an alternative to what a lot of people have been saying. I guess I'm pro sidewalk. And the reason for this, there's actually a lot of reasons, but 30 years ago, 63% of kids walked to school. That number has dropped down to 13%. This is nationwide, not just in town. And a big reason for that, the number one reason for that is kids don't feel, and parents don't feel safe letting their kids walk to school. And the biggest thing stopping for them from that is sidewalks and safe pedestrian crossing areas and stuff like that. So when you don't provide sidewalks, you're denying kids even the option of walking to school. And walking to school has a ton of benefits. Childhood obesity is something that this country's been trying to grapple with. That's kind of coincided, increased as walking to school has decreased. And also, I know it's really hard to solve traffic problems, but if you think about it, every single child that is walking to school is one less vehicle driving to school. And if the problem is too many cars going to the school at the same time, having more kids walking to and from school helps alleviate that problem. And just on top of that, I went to Westwood High School, I went to George School, I went to Brookside, walked to and from school all 3 times because both my parents worked and I couldn't afford to be afraid of walking to and from school. But I don't know if that's really the case anymore for kids today and for parents today who often there is one available to drive them to school. But I can tell you it's not fun walking to and from school when there isn't a sidewalk. A lot of people are whizzing around corners. I can just tell you walking across Washington Ave, even though there's a crossing guard, you just never feel safe because you never know who's not paying attention. So I'm just urging the council to at least consider sidewalks. I think it's important for the health of our students and of our kids. And a lot of people have mentioned that these things have lasting, repercussions. We're all driving now, but maybe in the future we're not all driving. Maybe we're biking, or we're doing all these different things. And if we have the opportunity now to build sidewalks, I think we should. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else that would like to come up?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Richard Skinner, as you know, I'm the Chief of Police. I would list my address as 350 Hudson Avenue. I just did wanted to speak on behalf of the police officers. So the entire police department is here tonight, as well as our labor representation. The entire road department is here tonight, as well as their labor representation. And we all have very deep concerns about this difference card. I think there are still some questions that haven't been answered. Nobody, I can speak for the entire police department, nobody is comfortable with this new program. So I had to implore you tonight to, put this vote off. Please negotiate with both of your labor unions. Please hear the concerns of both of your labor unions before you vote on something like this. I'd also like to point out that, not only do you have PBA Local 206 here tonight and the Teamsters Union, you also have representatives from both the county PBA and the state PBA. So this is a bigger concern for everybody. So, those people would also be in place if there was any kind of future litigation, if there was grievances from the PBA. Our PBA does have the full support. So I just want to thank the police officers and the DPW who came out tonight to speak up for themselves. And I'd like to thank the members of the Bergen County PBA Conference and the New Jersey State PBA for their support in this matter. And I would just ask you to table this. Do you have a chance to sit down and speak to your employees? Thank you.
Thank you. Did you want to come up?
Michael Ullman. I was just hoping to get clarification on 3 updates that the administrator had provided. One on the road program for 2023. The website indicates that there's supposed to be cement work starting this week, and I think milling and paving next week. And it sounds like we haven't even gone out to bid, or maybe I misunderstood that. Also, the development or completion of the commuter lot by the Emergency Services Building. Has that gone out to bid, and has the bid been awarded? And then the last was the demolition of the houses at the corner of Pascack and Washington. I believe the administrator mentioned some type of agreement. If he could expand on what that agreement is or what he was referencing there, that would be appreciated. And the other question I have is, there is a resolution on tonight's agenda, 23299, which I think has the attention of the police and the DPW. I guess my question is, do we know what the maximum potential impact is? Because it looks like we're funding a HRA up to $1,400 or $14,600 per person. And I don't know how many full-time employees we have. I mean, maybe 50 that would be eligible, which is over 700,000 in funding. And I guess I'm just trying to understand, I've heard the discussions to date, but no one has put any firm numbers out or that I've understood to hear. I understand it's still an evolving situation, but $700,000 is a lot of money. And it just seems to me that there are more questions than answers with this whole situation. Maybe in the private sector, it's a little different. My company tells me, here's your plan. It's going to cost this. You can take it or leave it. I understand that we have collective bargaining units here, as well as employees that we want to protect. But it just seems that we don't have all the answers. We're putting a number out there. At least one number appears in this resolution, and that number is going to result in potentially a $700,000 increase. And what does that mean to the taxpayers? So, thank you.
Thank you.
Council President, I can respond to some of Mr. Ullman's questions.
Okay, great.
Mr. Ullman, I think you're confusing the 23 Township Road Program with the resurfacing of Pascack Road. That's the resurfacing and cement work that you're talking about. That's a county project, has nothing to do with funding with the township. I think you're also confusing the tear down and demolition of 3 homes with the bus easement for the bus shelter on Pascack Road, 2 different topics. And the commuter lot, as I reported on earlier, has been put out to advertising on August 29th with bids due on September 14th.
Okay, so the road program, the 2023 road program that's on the website is not the residential road program?
I'm not sure what you're looking at, the road program. I'm just answering your question.
Okay,
The
well, I'll
resurfacing
forward it
cement
to you.
work has to do with Pascack Road.
We're not resurfacing the roads that are part of the program? The residential road program?
You said that there was cement work and repaving that was due for this month in September. What I was referring to is the resurfacing of Pascack Road. If you're asking what's going on with our 23 road program, that was sent out to advertisement on August 29th with bids due September 14th.
Okay. And the demolition of the houses, I thought in your update, you had provided an update on the demolition of the houses and referenced an agreement. There's no agreement regarding the...
There were 2 different things I talked about. I updated the council and the residents that the 3 homes were demolished and the debris was taken away. And then I updated as far as the intersection, one last component that's unsettled right now.
Understood.
The bus shelter easement that we're still waiting to get from the property owner.
Understood. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Al Gilio. Here we are, 15 years later, once again. My wife and I lived in Wayne Place for 30 years. And recently, both of us are not working, so we get to see firsthand, what's happening on Wayne Place. And, honestly, sidewalks aren't going to have that much of an impact. If there's sidewalks, more people will not walk to school. I'm just looking at something on the internet, and that's not the reason why kids aren't walking to school because of sidewalks. It's other fears. The only thing sidewalks will accomplish will be to destroy the character of Wayne Place and waste a lot of taxpayer dollars. As I was the last time when I was up here against sidewalks, all I was asking for, as Ann mentioned, some creative solutions. Maybe it means kids still can walk to school with a different alternative. But sidewalks are not the answer, and we wish, with the committee, we hope we can continue to work on ideas. Now, I heard about the Board of Education's plans that went to the state and included sidewalks. That's besides the point, but I would hope that if the Board of Education is submitting to the state and hopefully getting money from the state, one of the things they could be asking for is to outright purchase 450 Pascal and use that as an alternative to access Washington School and even Memorial Field. I mean, it's a perfect opportunity. Let's face it, these streets around Washington School and Memorial Field were built 70 years ago. They weren't designed for the traffic that we have now. And, you know, with the school expanding, it's only going to get worse. So 450 would be a perfect opportunity to have other access to Washington School and to Memorial Field. It could be a road, it could be parking, it could be sidewalks that people can walk on from Pascack Road. I think this is a solution we have to go to. Look, this town has grown in the 30 years that my wife and I have been here, and that's great. There's more activities at the field. That's great too, but there's a lot of traffic on School Street when we try to get out. 450 would help the town grow to the 21st century to support the growth in the town and the growth in the school and the field and whatever else. And I hope that we will have another committee meeting, and I hope that this committee meeting will start talking about things we can do, not things that we can't do. So, thank you.
Thank you. Let the record reflect also in attendance is Councilwoman Feeney.
Bob Stickle, 191 Walnut Street, Township of Washington. I came here tonight to talk about school taxes, but I would just like to say, since we have all our police officers in the room tonight and DPW workers, you all do a fantastic job. I've lived in this town since 2004, and I have nothing negative to say about our police department. They're active in the community. Their mothers, fathers in this town, they're active and they support all our kids, and our DPW does a great job. What I came to speak to you about tonight is what I spoke to you about back in the spring, the discrepancy in our taxes compared to Westwood and schools. In the 2020-2021 school year, Westwood school taxes went down $67. Ours went up $15. In 2021-2022, Westwood school taxes went down $73. Ours went up $14. Not a big difference. I think most of us can live with that. In 2022, Westwood started the reassessment of their properties. And this is when things happen. In the 2022-2023 school year, Westwood's taxes went down for the average assessed home $240. Ours went up $287. In the 2023-2024 budget, Westwood taxes for average assessed home went down $443. Our taxes went up $277. So in the last 2 years, Westwood taxes for schools have gone down $683. Ours have gone up $564 for the average assessed house. When I asked, you were nice enough to bring the tax assessor in on Zoom to find out a week later in the newspaper after she went around in circles, couldn't answer my question that if we reassessed our taxes, if this would make this on a more equal basis. To find out, she's the tax assessor in Westwood as well as Washington Township. So how she could not answer that question, I have no idea. So I'm just wondering if there's any update on this, because at this rate, in the next 5 years, our taxes are going to go up $1,200 and their taxes are going to go down $2,000. Okay, they're talking about putting 9 rooms on Washington School. And if we think that's going to be expensive, what's going to happen to the Kmart property if they put 600 units in there or 1,000 units? I know there's no plan and that's what you'll tell me, but that land is going to be developed. And if that happens, we'll be building a whole nother elementary school, not have enough room again in our middle school, and won't have enough room in our high school. So I know Councilman Feeney was looking into this, but I'm just curious what the rest of you are. And, you know, I don't want to hear that a tax reassessment raises your taxes, because it just raises your assessment, lowers the tax rate. Yes, some people's taxes may go up, some may go down, but I seriously doubt a reassessment is going to raise my taxes. Well, maybe now it was, because tax assessor probably thinks my house is worth about $8 million now, but $564, I don't think anyone's taxes will go up by that much with a reassessment. So we need to look into this. We're going to get clobbered on school taxes. This year, our school taxes were 63% of our taxes, and we have very little say about this. Municipal taxes, 25%, and county taxes are 11%. So be willing to hear any comments from the dais on this.
Desiree, I can make one statement.
Sure.
Hi, Bob. Yeah, I appreciate your concern. When Mark and I met with the interim administrator, when Dr. Mortimer was out on her leave, his name escapes me right now. One of the things I asked him, since it comes from the school, is can you tell us how the taxes break down between Township and Westwood? He was going to ask one of his people to do that. I'm guessing it fell between the cracks. I'll follow up with Dr. Mortimer on it.
Okay. I mean, Rosado's, Mr. Rosado, the school business administrator, has said several times at these budget hearings, the difference is because Westwood's reassessing it. And the huge jump was in 2022, and that's when they started their reassessment. So it has to have some effect. So, thank you.
I'm sorry. Come on up, Mrs. Stickle first, yes.
Can I approach the dais to pass out some
Sure,
documents
yes.
for what I'm going to talk about? My trustee assistant, well,
So Councilwoman Feeney just wanted to respond to Mr. Stickle's comment.
So I'm going to ask the administration to bring back the tax assessor, maybe not to the next meeting, but the meeting after, with a plan on doing the revolving assessment so we could be in the same line with Westwood. Is it not on? It's on. Sorry, yeah.
Okay.
Okay, maybe I'll try this one. Sorry. Okay, is that better?
Just gotta lean this bitch.
Wait, I'll just talk a little louder. So I'm going to ask the administration to have the tax assessor come back, not to the next meeting, but the meeting after, with a plan to go on a rolling tax assessment just like Westwood, to see how that would affect us going forward. Because I know we talked about that at the I believe it was 2 meetings ago, maybe 3 meetings ago. So if that would be okay, we could set a date for that?
You'll check with her and see what she's about.
Okay, thank you.
Council President Morgan, let me address Mr. Stickle. I didn't get a chance
Yes.
to do that. Thank you.
Yes.
After the meeting you brought up this issue, I did sit down with the tax assessor to find out how this works. She laid out the procedure that for us to start a rolling tax plan, we first have to do a 100% evaluation of the town. Once we complete that, then we can go into a rotational tax rate. That's how Westwood drops it. So I will be recommending we do a complete tax assessment coming next year so we can move forward. She laid it out really simple on how they do it, and we haven't done that in 10 years. So again, Mr. Stickle, thank you for bringing that up. And
There is a significant, the reason that we were discussing it at length was because there is a significant cost of doing the whole
Yes.
town, and there was no other way around it. You have to do the whole town at one time first, and then you could do the rolling. But, the time did not seem right to put that in the budget right now, and the amount of money that it was a significant amount of money. But I do understand everyone's point up here.
Well, I did ask for it to be, for the last meeting, I don't know if it was 3 meetings ago or 4 meetings ago, I asked the administration if they could add it to the upcoming budget because we should be in the same position as Westwood. I mean, we share the school district. If they're getting a break and we're not, then it's not fair to the residents, and we're not representing the tax assessor. The tax assessor is recommending this, which she is, and she's the expert and this is her field. We should listen to her. So I am, asking that we put the plan into the budget for the upcoming year so that we can move forward with that.
Sorry to have you
Good.
standing up
I
there the whole
know, he
time.
steals the show, I tell you, my whole life, right? Mary Ellen Stickle, I'm 191 Walnut, Township of Washington. I also want to say thank you to all the police. You have my heart. You guys have always volunteered in Boy Scout projects and Scout projects and Cub Scout projects, and you really are an integral part of the community, and I support you. All right, so I just wanted to talk about, I'm going to take a total right turn here, the private jets that fly over my house every few minutes. I've been up here before talking to you. I know that Stacy had recognized the last time I had mentioned it. I live at 191 Walnut Street, and that's like the intersection of Ridgewood and Walnut. It's south of the high school, and the planes come over my house every few minutes. What I gave to you guys was a map, what they call a flight pattern. I called up Teterboro, and this is what they gave me. I'm going to try to get it up on the screen here. I'm here, 191 Walnut, which means that you guys are all around me. And every few minutes, the flights are coming over my house. I wanted to show that to you specifically and show you exactly where my address is and how many flights are coming over my house. I'm here to inform the mayor and town council about the first petition to the FAA and the air traffic controllers at Terminal Radar Approach Control, otherwise known as TRACON, to reduce the large volume of private jets flying into Teterboro Airport that bring intolerable noise levels to many residents in the Township of Washington and the surrounding Bergen County towns. I know this sounds like it's a pie in the sky to kind of go after the FAA, but we are going to try. I belong to a group now called TANS. It's Taxpayers for Aircraft Noise Solutions. We're a community organization tasked with finding workable solutions to the aircraft noise, which adversely affects the quality of life of residents in the Pascack Valley. I'm working with Audrey Hubert. She's a Park Ridge resident, and their town council member, Greg Hoffman, and also a gentleman in Woodcliff Lake, Warren Feldman. And we have been researching and gathering data to formulate this petition. Mayor Calamari did sit in a mayor's meeting with all the mayors from the Pascack Valley, and he listened to Audrey's presentation, and he can also share information too about what he had heard at that meeting. Long before TANS, a Hackensack Deputy Mayor, Kathy Canestrano, lobbied for the FAA to create and utilize what they call the Route 17 approach. It's commonly known as this RNA GPS runway 19 approach, and they were successful, which means that the flights wouldn't come over Pascack Valley. They would get moved over to come down what they call the Route 17 approach. It's an easy solution. It's been in place, but the pilots choose not to use it. It's used like 10% of the time. It's really about what they call TRACON in Long Island tells the pilots to shoot the beam. Once they reach the area, they say, just shoot this beam down, and then they follow down exactly that beam to get into Teterboro. If they just moved the beam over to 17, that would be great. It would be even better if they did it on Sunday when the blue laws and nobody's there anyhow, if the flights could just fly over Route 17 when the stores aren't open and nobody's on 17. What I'm asking today is the township mayor and council show their support by signing and distributing the petition that's in place currently that I've been sending around on the Facebook pages. That's on, I gave you a copy of the petition, and also there you can actually scan, which anybody would like to do. You can scan this, and what it'll do is bring you directly to the petition and you can sign it. I also wanted to see if the Green Team can get involved in this initiative. It's a negative environmental component that private jets fly over our town. I know that everybody probably Googled Kylie Jenner's 17-minute private jet flight where she took this stupid flight from one location to another just because she has a private jet. But it's a fun article to read anyhow, because she's just silly, like whatever. I also think that we forget the fact that it's an environmental issue. And this is something I never, ever, ever discuss with people, but I'll come clean. I am a breast cancer survivor for 9 years now. And we are getting soot dumped upon us. And we all seem to think that's cool and that the rich people can do that and we have no control over it, but we actually do. And this grassroots organization, TANS, is taking speed, and it's collaborating and it's collecting information from pilots and TRACON and ex-TRACON workers and a lot of different people. And it's rolling, and we could do this. I just need more people to sign this petition. So again, I want to thank you for your support. I know that Westwood's Mayor Arroyo signed the petition. I did see his name come up, and I'm hoping that I could see your names on there too, and you could support this. I think it's a good thing for our town. I even think Sopowitz did it years ago too, where she knew that I think she had a foresight that there were going to be problems. We just have a beautiful airway above us. And I don't know if they use the lake as a guiding force to get to where they need to go. But I think because Teterboro is now a private jet hotspot and also what they call a fixed base operation, which is a name for a glorified gas station, it is home to celebrities. And it's an easy into New York City and an easy out. So please support me. Please sign the petition. And, that's it. Thank you for listening.
Thank you very much, and thank you for your effort.
Council President, do you mind if I just go back to the revaluation real quick?
Sure.
If it's crazy to think that we're almost ready to start preparing for the 24 budget already, but it really is around the corner. And if I don't have my notes in front of me, but if you remember, we presented, I think, 3 different options for the revaluation, the rolling reassessment, and the reassessment. Should I start over, or did you?
No,
okay. There was 3 options for either one, a revaluation, which was the 1 year, the rolling reassessment, and then a reassessment. If, for the sake of saving time, I guess for direction from the council, the decision is to whether we do want to budget and fund one of those 3 options, and then which option we would choose. I could certainly ask our tax assessor to come back and revive those for us just to discuss them again. But I really need a direction as to which one we want to do so we can start preparing for the budget, if that makes sense. That's all. Thank you. Thank you.
I thought the option was you had to do the whole reassessment first. And then after you did the reassessment of everything, then you could do rollings moving forward.
It sounds right. Again, I just don't want to commit to an answer without those notes in front of me. But each one of those options had its own funding, I don't want to say restrictions, but guidelines. So if we had picked that 1 year.
We had to do 100% first.
Yeah.
But she did give us 3 options. One was to do the 100% and then go to a rolling schedule.
Yeah, but the 100% was the main thing. They couldn't move.
Right, but what he's saying, then the other 2 options were to do partial over, I think it was one was over 5 years and one was over a little bit longer, so I think that's what.
Yeah.
Which, and the plans were, I'll look in the packet and see which one it was and so you send it to the council. We did all get with the financial aspects of it. I'd be in favor of the first plan, so if anybody else has any, we can tell the administration move forward, or do we want to talk to the tax assessor again?
I don't mind sending out, those options again. The good thing is since we're preparing for the budget, all 3 options are on the table. As we were discussing it through the budget approval process, it kind of, if I remember correctly, it took the first option, which was the total reeval, which was the most expensive, that was be completed and done and over in 1 year, but that had to be part of the budget, which again, we were kind of past that point. And then I think the other two options were funded through capital. But again, don't hinge too much on what I'm saying because I'm just going off of memory. But I can certainly revive all that information for the council to look at and/or ask the tax assessor to come back and talk about all three.
Okay.
Council
right.
President, can I just make a quick comment on what Mrs. Stickle was referring to?
Sure.
Yes, thank you, Mary Ellen. Yes, her and her group have attended a mayor's meeting. You may recall that the Pascack Valley Mayors Association petitioned the group down there to get one seat on their board because right now it's in their bylaws that they only take towns, I believe, within a 5-mile radius of Teterboro. We are outside of that. But this says so much because, as you can see, parts of the Pascack Valley, all these planes come in and then they narrow down. So we almost have a worse problem because as it gets closer, they're already quite narrowed down. So it affects a very small range of the towns within the 5 miles. So I appreciate what Mary Ellen and her group are looking to do, and they do have the support of the Pascack Valley mayors.
Can I say one more thing?
Yeah, you can clarify it, just to clarify.
I was wondering, my last question was, are we allowed to post this petition on the Township of Washington website?
I already gave it to
Okay.
the administrator of the website to post it.
Okay.
With the council on it, so.
Can we do that?
It's done.
I mean, like I
believe
said,
she did it already.
this
Well,
is,
I sent the email, I don't know if she did it.
All right.
just so you know, this is going to be the first of 4 petitions that will go
I mean,
to them.
as much as I like it, I have to defer to our attorney to see if that's allowed.
No, I didn't think it's allowed.
Okay, very good.
Go for it.
Yep.
I'll
Okay,
post it on the
we'll
Green
make sure
Team's
it happens.
webpage also.
Thank you, Tom. I
We can
really
share it
appreciate
if
it.
you
Thank
make
you,
it
Mayor.
shareable.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
I'll send you the chair, it says there, I'll send you the chair, you are, you can share it on Facebook.
Wonderful. Okay, is there anybody else that would like to?
Hi. Thank you for having us all here tonight. My name is Allison Moran, 738 Wayne Place. My husband and I bought our house a little over 2 years ago, and we specifically picked Wayne Place due to the lack of sidewalks. There are many other towns, many other streets, and, we love the aesthetic of no sidewalks in this town. I do have a 2-year-old son, and I am fortunate to work from home, so I do see all of the traffic because he loves to wave to all the kids as they go to school. But the problem isn't the sidewalks. The parents are flying down the street. They are not stopping. A sidewalk is not going to happen. It's not going to stop them from hopping a curb. If, they're going to hit someone in the street, they're going to hit them on the sidewalk because they are flying, they are texting, they are driving like crazy people. There are numerous times when I cannot get out of my driveway because parents are blocking my neighbor's driveway and parking in front of them. So I cannot physically back out. I can't go down my street without sitting in lines of traffic. And as all of my fellow neighbors have said, traffic is the main concern on that street. You're thinking of putting sidewalks in and asking parents to park on one side, cross 2 lanes of traffic with cars moving to get onto a sidewalk. The issue is the crossing of the lanes of traffic. A one-way street was not meant to have 3 lanes of traffic, parking, and 2 lanes of driving and kids walking. There's no room for it. There's no way to manage it. We are constantly, watching people running across the street to dodge in and out of the traffic. There's no way for 3 lanes of traffic on a one-way street. It's just not, it's not wide enough. It's not possible. The street is a one-way street for a reason, and that's because it can't handle the volume of that many cars. So we would really appreciate any other alternative besides the sidewalks. I definitely think that, there's other options, and there's been viable options that we've come up with at the committee meetings that definitely need to be considered before building sidewalks and still asking kids to run across 3 lanes of traffic. Thank you.
Thank you.
That's the plan, I thought the plan was different, honestly. Now there's sidewalks on, I believe. The plan wasn't that they were gonna cross the traffic.
Is there anybody else that would like to come up? Sorry, right after. Right after, sorry about that.
Hi, good evening. Dan Paolucci, 742 Wayne Place. I have 5 minutes, right? So I will first say, because my wife forgot to, thank you to our babysitter. And if my kids are still awake, I know they're making fun of us. So they are watching as well. We have children who have walked to Washington School. We still have children walking to Washington School. And we have never had an issue with it. I also have been living in the town. We were fortunate enough to purchase from the original owners who have always told us it is a huge traffic jam. It's always been like this. It's been like this since day one, since we moved in here and they built the school. Just expect that, and we were fine with that. We have had the opportunity to speak at the board meeting last week, and some of the board members who heard our comments did finally acknowledge and address, because they heard us for the first time probably, as a group, or the Board of Ed, I should say, as a group, heard us for the first time, acknowledge that it's something they need to consider, but it's the volume of traffic that is really causing this problem. And I would like the town and town leadership to please be one collective voice speaking to the Board of Education, saying their plan with their architect should include some sort of proposal to redirect the large volume of traffic onto school property. There's been quite a bit of development in our town, and a lot of new development that is proposed coming in our town with structures that are large. I'm not making any criticism for or against it, but we have heard response saying there's not enough property to put loops or roads on the Washington School land now. I don't see how that's just as a layperson, I don't see that's how that could be a valid comment when you compare some of the structures that are being built in our town now on the sizes of property. So the idea of adding a sidewalk is not addressing the problem of the volume of traffic. So I please, again, ask that the town be one voice, the town council and leadership be one voice communicating to the Board of Education that if they're paying architects to renovate Washington School, first acknowledge there is a current volume of traffic problem, not that there's going to be a new volume of traffic problem, that there's a current one that has never been addressed, and they need to incorporate that in their new designs and their new plans. And the town, as one voice, can support that plan, and we can work together. Secondly, wanted to thank the PBA delegate, Anthony Mazzo, for coming to speak on behalf of the police and DPW. Please hear their request. And I think that's about it. Thanks.
Thank you. Yeah.
Hi, Sharon McDonough, Jefferson Avenue. I just want to support the police on their health benefit options. And I think I heard either the administrator or the mayor say equal to or better than, which is a really powerful statement, because equal to or better than means that you can't just go by some fly-by-night and just give them something to save money. It's got to be the best thing for our officers and our DPW workers. Sorry, I'm just getting over a little coughing jag out in the hallway. I was wondering on the last page, under ordinance and legislation, what the resolution to school board parental rights is. Could someone answer that for me?
We're going to discuss it when we get there.
So then we won't be able to talk about it after?
On the agenda, the way that the agenda is written, I'm not necessarily privy to what that council person puts on the agenda, just that they want to discuss it. So once we get to that section, that's when.
I just kind of wonder why our council is involved in like Board of Ed type of legislation. It just seems to me like it's a little bit of an overreach.
Well, I think, I'm not going to speak for the person, I just will speak to that response. We're all residents here, and although we are acting as, we're wearing our council hats, etc., we are also have vested interests in what happens at the school board level, and we should be kind of a dotted line, I feel anyway. We should know what's going on in our community, as we're also, a lot of us are parents, and our residents will reach out to us and ask us, our opinions and how we stand. And we do have a little bit of, I would say there is some responsibility for us as council people to not act like we don't see what's going on. We don't see we're not reading the room. We don't, know the temperature of our community. So again, I don't know the depth by which that resolution or that discussion is going to, where it's going to go. I can just tell you that as a council person, I do feel that I do have to have my finger on the pulse of our community.
I understand that. I'm concerned, I think, because last year the council endorsed a Board of Ed member now who has, and I'm really not sure how much you vetted him to be able to endorse him, but this is a man who wants to ban books in our schools, along some other like really crazy stuff. So I'm concerned what our council is putting out there, and when they endorse someone like that. So when I see something like that, it's concerning.
Again, I think my response is if a council person endorsed somebody, they must firmly believe it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? Anybody would like to come up? Any comments? Is there anyone else that wants to come up? Okay, motion to close public comment?
So moved.
Oh, wait, nope, there's a hand. I see a hand.
I just heard an accident. You guys are gonna be busy. Just heard an accident.
Hello?
I just heard an accident. I'm just getting up. And a bang. Yeah.
Hello?
Hello? Hello?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, it's Jim Walsh, 713 Burke Street. I just quickly, I know you guys have a very busy meeting, and obviously we support our police and DPW unions and, want to support them. Quick question, follow-up from the administrator's report on the Northgate drainage. I'm just curious to know if there's going to be further updates on this project. Maybe you can add it to your project tracker. I've been here for 16 years, and we all lived through the much discussed C1 tributary for the last few months. And back in 2012, when I first presented to the mayor and council the flooding in my property, I had a DEP inspector in our property, and as a result of his inspection, comments were added to the 2012 storm management plan of report to the Washington Township Council, discussing drainage pipes that were had holes in them, had not been maintained at that time. My concern, and Mr. DiCarlo can probably attest to this because he was in my yard with the engineer, Mr. Yakimic, that there's serious erosion in our yard, and some of it is contributed to the Northgate detention system directly to my north. Prior to Northgate being developed, there was a stream that ran through our property and down into that, what's now known as that unnamed tributary or drainage ditch. I'm just concerned that we don't get proper updates. I'd like this to stay at, the forefront, only because 48.86 acres of water, as Boswell Engineering reported, drains into that little unnamed drainage ditch. And as a developer myself for 30 years, stormwater management plans that, require annual maintenance and inspections and all that stuff. And obviously, unfortunately, Northgate hasn't done it since the early 80s when it was constructed. So I was just hoping that maybe you guys can follow this and put it at the top of your list for the administrator to follow up on, so we can get some regular updates. I understand it's probably, the engineering report, are we ever going to see it? Will we see it? Is it our ability to see it? I'm not sure. But that's kind of, I just like somebody to pay attention to that, because as Mr. DiCarlo saw and Mr. Yakinick saw, there's serious erosion in my backyard. I'm sure my neighbors on Meissen have been dealing with flooding, drainage ditches overflowing and all that stuff. So I would just like to keep it at the forefront of everybody on the mayor and council's minds, and Mr. DiCarlo to continually follow up on that, maybe give us regular reports. I'm sure it's a big task and a heavy lift for Northgate, but it's something that affects the neighbors and the values of these properties surrounding Northgate. And they're great neighbors. I love them all. I know some of them. But the property, the stormwater management plan has to be enforced, and the improvements and remediation to their detainage ditches needs to be done. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Council President, do you mind if I address Mr.
No,
Walsh?
sure, go ahead.
Hi, Mr. Walsh, it's Mark DeCarlo. The simple response to your question is yes. We are going to stay on top of it. We've made some progress. Unfortunately, it's been the last year, but there has been some progress. And last week when we had our EPA on-site audit, specifically on our tour, was a stop at the Northgate Community Complex to discuss the stormwater management there. So not only am I going to, I'm actually required to, as part of our stormwater management system. So, and there actually was follow-up conversations with the EPA today regarding the matter. So we are going to stay on top of it.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So motion, I don't remember if we had one, motion to close public?
Motion.
Okay, and second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. I'm going to ask the council, does anybody need a bio break, 5 minute? Yes? Okay, so we're going to take a 5-minute break. We will be back in exactly 5 minutes. Motion, do I have the motion? No. Yes. So we're going to move to ordinances. We have no adoption. So introduction, first reading, ordinance number 23-12, an ordinance repealing code provisions addressing beekeeping activities within the Township of Washington. Motion to introduce and pass ordinance number 23-12 at first reading by title.
So moved.
Sue, roll call, please.
Councilman Casio.
Yes.
Councilwoman Feeney. Yes. Councilman Sears.
Yes.
Councilwoman Velez.
Yes.
Council President Morgan.
Yes. Okay, resolution number 23-305, authorizing publication of ordinance number 23-12 and schedule public hearing.
Second.
Sue, roll call.
Who's second?
I did.
Thank you. Councilman Casio.
Yes.
Councilwoman Feeney.
Yes.
Councilman Sears.
Yes.
Councilwoman Velez.
Yes.
Council President Morgan.
Yes. We're going to move to resolutions and consent agenda. The following items have been determined to have unanimous consent of council and will be enacted in one motion. Should any item require independent consideration, any council member may have such item removed from the consent agenda. I would like resolution number 23-299 removed.
I would also.
Okay.
Same.
Same.
Okay.
Same.
Resolution 23-299 is authorization modification of health benefits for employees of the Township of Washington effective January 1st, 2024. So we are removing that for now.
We were tabling.
For table,
I'll motion to table it.
Yeah, we're going, let's table it. We are going to discuss this in closed. As we will have
You're not discussing it in closed, you're discussing possible litigation.
Right, I was just finishing my.
I'm sorry.
We're going to have potential litigation on this, so we're going to discuss the potential litigation, et cetera. Right.
So are we, is it a
But
motion
it's
to
motion
table?
to
Motion's on the table.
Comes to do the consent agenda first and then go to that one and motion.
Well,
Let's just
if they want to
table this one now,
they
right.
can do it right now if they want.
Yeah. It's the first one, so it's
Yeah.
fine. It works. So motion to table resolution number 23-299.
So move.
Second. Motion, I'll call first, I need a second, please.
Second.
Second.
Okay, Sue, roll call.
Councilman Casio.
Yes.
Councilwoman Feeney.
Yes.
Councilman Sears.
Yes.
Councilwoman Velez.
Yes.
Council President Morgan.
Yes. Resolution number 23, I'm sorry. So does anyone else have any other resolutions they want removed before we move forward? No. Resolution number 23-301, authorized release of performance guarantee, block 2109, lot 5, in the amount not to exceed $6,000. Resolution number 23-304, appointment of Uniform Construction Code Enforcing Agency Building Department Glenn Beckmeyer, PE, PP, CME, CFM, CPWM. Resolution number 23-306, authorized payment of bills August 9th through August 31st, 2023. Resolution number 23-307, authorize mayor to execute CSH Pascack LLC amendment to drainage easement, 620 Pascack Road, Township of Washington, New Jersey, block 2202, lot 1. Resolution number 23-308, authorize refund of engineering escrow, block 4322, lot 3.01, in the amount not to exceed $338.50. Resolution number 23-309, authorized release of performance guarantee and refund of remaining engineering escrow, block 2201.01, lot 1, in the amount not to exceed $1,155. Resolution number 23-310, authorized refund of engineering escrow, block 4304, lot 43, in the amount not to exceed $4.40. Resolution number 23-311, authorized refund of engineering escrow, block 2305, lot 3, in the amount not to exceed $410. Resolution number 23-312, authorized refund of engineering escrow, block 2314, lot 5, in the amount not to exceed $3,363.50. Resolution number 23-313, authorized refund of Q3 2023 tax overpayment to Core Logic, block 2109, lot 2, in the amount not to exceed $2,850.40. Resolution number 23-314, authorized refund of Q3 2023 tax overpayment to block 4208, lot 1, in the amount not to exceed $2,995.50. Motion to approve consent agendas. May I have a second?
Second.
And roll call.
Councilman Casio.
Yes.
Councilwoman Feeney.
Yes.
Councilman Sears.
Yes.
Councilwoman Velez.
Yes.
Council President Morgan.
Yes. Okay. Okay, so we're going to adjournment to conference agenda. And whatever time it is right now, 10:15. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
What's the matter? You left you here?
Where can I find it? It was, right?
That's it.
Oh, yeah.
No, I can't
That's yours?
remember.
Oh, are you sure?
Yeah.
Hold on, it's underneath, probably. No, it's not. Thank you.
Unless you changed.
Oh, no, I think,
Did you change it?
did you change it? You did change it,
We
right?
have to change it so it says amended on the top.
This one is amended? Okay,
So that's a good one?
this will get
That's a good one.
I think it's mine.
It was over here.
Doesn't mean anything. Okay. So we're gonna move to current business. Administration, Mason Street drainage. Mr. DeCarlo?
Yes, thank you, Council President. If you remember, over the last several months, there was a very significant topic in discussion with Mason Street and the unnamed tributary behind Mason Street as to whether it was a C1 waterway. We finally all agreed on the conclusion that it was not. It is still, however, a waterway. We also determined that no easements exist, and it was the residents' belief, I guess, since they own the property, that the township owned an easement to maintain that waterway. And we've since discovered that we do not. In the month of August, we met with Mr. Agnello that represented the 4 residents on Mason Street, myself and Mr. Yakimic. And they are basically petitioning the township to create an easement there and to pay to do a certain project with, which I'll describe, in order to maintain that unnamed water tributary there. So Mr. Yakimic from Boswell Engineering prepared just kind of a rough cost estimate. And the project scope would essentially very simply involve piping that waterway from earlier topic, Northgate water system, leaves the property and enters onto the 1 residence behind Mason Street in the cul-de-sac there at the dead end, and then goes behind 4 properties and then meets the intersection where that pipe was improved. So the scope of work simply really is to pipe that section, create easements if we have to, and then put dirt over it, so the homeowners would not have to maintain it. That scope to include, engineering, the cost of construction, easements, attorney fees such as that. Depending on what material we use, we could use, I don't want to say cheap as in it's not efficient, but there would be a cheaper option to the piping. That projected cost could be $300,000 to $400,000. To do that project. So 1, my intention was to bring this to your attention, and 2, to, advise you of the potential cost of $300,000 to $400,000, and then get council's direction as to whether it being a project we may potentially move forward with in 2024. If, again, suggestion that if capital was approved for this. That's just simply stated.
Mayor, Council President Morgan?
Yes.
The Boswell Engineering, that's his quote, $400,000?
It wasn't a formal proposal, it was more of a cost
Estimate?
estimate, to give us a starting point.
And this is his study of what the drainage should look at, be processed from one end to the other. We truly hope we get a second opinion on this. And on the legal part, from a Class A waterway now down to drainage. Ken, have you looked into this?
Remember, I haven't independent with that. I've been paying attention to all of the dialogue going on, the DEP making its ruling, I think it was not Russo, somebody from Boswell with here, Frank, somebody, the expert, he talked about it, and so to me, it does seem like it is not a C1 waterway, period. I know it was argued by Statito that it was. There's the background to that occurring, but I mean, I'm comfortable with it being not a C1 waterway. If somebody asked me, I'm not going to give my neutral opinion that it's not, but based on what we have, it seems like it is not.
So going down the line, if somebody decides to go back to the EPA and change that.
Well, the DEP changes things all the time, and it's interpretations. I mean, and sometimes topographical things change, sometimes even regulations. I mean, setbacks and transition areas. One day it's here, next day it could be wider, could be less, could be anything, so. But I think the important thing is that it was checked out with the DEP.
Okay.
So,
Madam President, I ask a question of Mr. DiCarlo. Mark, did we look into what it would initially cost to clean that area up? We're talking 4 or 5 properties, right?
Yeah.
So did we look at a cost analysis of what it would take to clean it up to specs, number 1, and 2, what the potential would be to maintain that on a regular basis? Would that be less expensive than laying out $400,000 or more dollars? That's the question I have. I mean,
So I think the simple answer is probably yes. It's just probably the feasibility of doing it. So if we were going to maintain it, then we'd certainly have to create easements there, which, we could probably be in agreement that the property owners are not going, they're going to, I don't know what the terms would be, Mr. Pollard, but, voluntarily give us the easement. We wouldn't have to purchase the land, but we'd have to, lawfully establish the easements. I'm not sure, if Mr. Pollard has an idea how much that would cost. Boswell Engineering proposed possibly $10,000 for the legal to get those easements. This idea would be more of a permanent idea. So the other thing that the property owners, they essentially don't want it there. I'm just going to speak candidly. They don't want it there. So to pipe it and dirt over is a benefit to them because it pretty much extends their purposeful use of the property, what they could do.
no doubt.
So I think, I'm sorry, it's not a simple answer, but that would be a permanent resolve, is to pipe it, put dirt over it. We don't have to go back every year. We still probably maybe have to maintain it, make sure there's not clogs in it and stuff. I could certainly, provide this email to council so you can see in front of you. I'm more than willing to read it now, but it might be more beneficial for it to be in front of you. It was essentially an email from John Yakimic giving me a foundation to discuss the topic tonight. But it has some, proposal amounts, for mobilization and clearing site and soil conservation. It's just unfortunate. It all all adds up. It's not simply just dirt in a pipe.
Sure.
Unfortunately.
I guess my feeling is you mentioned that this is not, the price you quoted is not a platinum plan. This is like the cheapest way to go, right?
I don't know.
Middle of the road.
I don't know if I can
with
say
a
that.
platinum plan, what would the cost then be?
I certainly can't tell you this is the only option. I think you provided another option before to just keep maintaining it. But again, in the conversation with them you probably remember Mr. Agnello saying, I don't want it. I'm diverting it somewhere else. And I said, I understand your frustration, but you can't do that. I can't tell you this is the only one. I can't tell you it's the Cadillac version. I can tell you that, they referenced a different type of pipe, whether it's a reinforced concrete pipe or if it's the corrugated. I don't know if the plastic is the right word. But, all those had variables in the amount. That's why I'm saying it was ranging from $300,000 to $400,000. More specifically, like 281,000 to the upper threes to 399,000. But again, while we're on the topic, they're suggesting mobilization, 10,000. I can't even speak to what that is. Clearing the site, 15,000. Soil conservation, 15,000. The piping, 183,000. Topsoil seeding, it gets very involved. So, can we say that all that's done? I think they would probably do a proposal and start there. But, that was a rough estimate from Mr. Boswell himself, from Kevin and from John. They were working on it.
What would Boswell's fee be to manage this project?
Would he still be doing the project, or would that go to the new?
A project such as this for now would be Boswell Engineering.
Okay.
Beckmeyer Engineering is just for building department applications that does not involve the planning board or the zoning board. Basically, something that doesn't need a variance. So, but his approximate engineering costs associated with this design survey and topographic mapping, 10,000, design, 30,000, construction inspection, 30,000. So the proposed engineering start to finish would be roughly $70,000.
$70,000.
Yeah.
What I'd like to know is this their recommendation for that area? I mean, is this something that they would do? Is it obstructing the flow of the water? What is that going to have effect downstream and then upstream back into the residents that are in town or even in Hillsdale? Are we going to be causing a problem that way? I think that's the question I'd like to get answered from them, to see, by doing this, is this really the right way to go? Understanding what the homeowners want, and it's no longer classified as a C1 waterway, is it really the right decision environmentally for all the residents, not just the ones who are directly behind?
Well, as Mr. Walsh said, I mean, he's very concerned that we maintain this waterway as well, because
Just wait, nobody's listening. So.
You're killing me. I stopped. Go
from Mr. Walsh, when he was on the phone before, he even though he lives on Burke Street, right, Burke Street, he's concerned that if that waterway isn't maintained, it will once again back up into his property. So, there's a combination of things there. Northgate,
Lincoln Park.
Yeah, I was going to say, but I'll take your word for it.
Well, I mean, in fact, that's right there. So
Right.
whatever.
Yeah,
backs
no,
up
I mean,
into there,
just from my knowledge of the whole thing, there's a couple components there. I certainly can't tell you that, another engineering firm would have cheaper prices. I can't tell you that piping and soiling over it is the only option. It really was just a starting point for the conversation and what the residents are seeking from the township.
Yeah, but I would, in addition to what the residents are seeking, I would like to know what the right answer is for that and for long term. So if we do cover it up and it blocks the flow of the water, and it's going to have literally an upstream effect, are we going to be in trouble with our neighbors? Are we going to be putting Lincoln Park in jeopardy because it's going to maybe have more water now? Or
Oh, that's absolutely certain. I mean, if it blocks, but that's, again, there would have to be a purposeful act or just erosion and failure to maintain it over and over and over and over again in the years.
yeah. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, thank you. And then, Mayor, a letter received regarding purchase of an adjacent property.
Yes, thank you, Council President. Yes, I received a inquiry from a property owner wanting to purchase an adjacent town-owned property to their current lot. This doesn't come up very often, so I reached out to Mr. Pollard right away, and he said the proper things to kick things off is to have the property owner submit a letter to the council expressing their desire to do so and asking what the next steps are. And so here we are tonight in light of that happening so far. So I think Ken now can give maybe the council some guidance on what needs to happen.
It's something we have done before. If there is an undersized lot, sometimes the council decides that it's a good idea to sell it, particularly when you have the contiguous landowners, one or more want it, et cetera, et cetera. We've done this, other times before. So basically what it is, I looked at the property, it's on the corner of Colonial and Times Square, I believe. And there are two lots that are contiguous, lot 19, which is the people that were looking to purchase it, and lot 9.
I mean, I don't know that lot 9's gonna want it because it's kind of at the back of
The
their
backyard,
property. Whereas the other lot 19, it's right next door, so it looks like it could be expansion. It looks to be an undersized lot. There are no capital improvements on it. So the first step should be, we should contact our assessor and come up with a number, value of the lot. It is undersized and, can't do much with it, so I can't imagine it's gonna be a huge number. But once you get that, you then have to write to both the landowners and see if they are interested in purchasing for the price that we think is the fair market value of it. If it turns out that both want it, then actually they would bid, and they would go to the highest bidder. If only one wants it, you could sell to that one landowner. So at this point, if you are in favor of proceeding with a possible sale, I'll reach out to the assessor and see if I get a number.
Do you have to notify both parties that it agrees to?
Yes, because they have to sign off. I have a form letter that they are interested or not interested.
Checkbox.
And check the box. That kind of thing.
Do you just need a straw poll or you need an actual?
Just a straw poll.
Okay.
Because the information has to come back.
I'm a yes.
Yeah, I'm a yes as
Can
well.
I just ask one question? Who maintains the lots right now?
The town.
We do.
We are? Okay.
What happens if they don't agree to the assessed value? Can they underbid the property, or do they,
Well, they can underbid it, but you don't have to sell
right, okay, so they have to come with their proposal, okay.
Okay, so we're two
it.
yeses.
It's very difficult to sell public property for less than market value, when your assessor is telling you what the value.
That's why I was asking the
Yeah.
question, like, what's the process?
Yeah.
So, we
I'm
don't-
a yes.
That's 3.
I'm a yes.
That's 4.
Yes.
Okay.
Fine.
And how long does it usually take for the assessor to get back to us?
And she's pretty good, but she has to take a look at the some of the comparables in town, see what she thinks this thing could go for.
Okay,
So,
thank you.
I'll move it. I expect to have an answer at least on that by the next meeting.
Okay,
And then I just develop the letter that goes out and kind of take it from there. It will require the cast an ordinance to sell it, by the way. And then,
Why is that?
because that's the law.
so much.
Have we not?
No, it's public property.
Like, are you asking if we don't have
Every
an
based on the
ordinance
stone.
ready?
Yeah.
Do we not have one already?
No, you have to,
Each time.
Each
Every time.
Each time.
Just like we have condemned property, we have an ordinance about condemning property.
Okay.
We've sold a few in the past,
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
yeah, we've probably done some, I'm on council, probably 5 different ones, so, it's
And I've
not,
done a couple more than you.
you've been here a little longer, yeah.
What happens if one of the owners doesn't respond to your letter? Is there a time frame on the letter?
We usually get a response.
But if we don't?
I'll figure it out, don't
Okay.
worry.
I didn't know if it was like an automatic pass after 30 days, like they don't respond.
No,
Okay,
it's not like a summons or complaint. no.
okay.
Okay, we're gonna move to council. Ordinances and legislation, resolution to school board parental rights, Councilman Casio.
That one is mine. I've been going out, I do this every fall. I go out and knock on some doors to see what people are interested in and their likes and their dislikes. That's what I normally do, especially in election season. So I've had quite a few residents concerned about this parental rights notification. And 2 of the residents that I spoke to actually sent me this verbiage on this resolution regarding such. Apparently, there's a law on the books since 2017 saying there's certain things you can discuss with the parent regarding your student. There's some things you can't discuss, and there's a couple of, if you look in the body of the resolution, you can see there's a couple of lawsuits going on because a couple of boards of eds did not agree with it. And the Attorney General and the Director of New Jersey Civil Rights are suing those particular school boards. So I know we had some people come in front of the council prior, a couple months ago, discussing this issue. And I just thought it was a thing to bring up in front of the council since we're all part of the community, how you feel about this. Again, I'm just presenting it. We don't have to do anything with it. We can just look at it. This is just for information purposes. So it's entirely how the council wants to address it. Again, it's a hot topic. You know, as you can see with the school board, there's a lot of hot topics going on between parking and the assessments of homes, and this happens to be one of them. But I thought it was, you know, something that needed to be addressed or at least looked at and considered.
Okay, so I'm just reading again the proposed.
But, you know, I'm looking at it from the standpoint where, you know, if you have a school district, right, and they want to do something, no matter what it is, the state, I think, has some overbearing reach in some areas. This happens to be an area that's contested. You know, and if we're going to default to the state, and this is even at a municipal level, why have a municipal government? Why have a school board, a local school board? The school board is supposed to reflect the opinions and the feelings of the community. So
Agree.
that's my gist. So again, you can do what you want with it. I just brought it to your attention.
Council President?
Mhm.
Speak?
Yes.
I gotta back Dr. Castillo up on this. I received multiple calls also about the state overreaching parents' rights. It is an issue, should go before the community, and that's where it should be decided at the community level, not at a state level that will allow the state to overrule parents' rights. I'm reading just a quick excerpt of the Westwood Regional Board of Education is empowered to pass policies reaffirming a parent's rights to raise their children without state interference. It couldn't be more plainly stated. What I have heard from residents within the community. Thank you, Council President.
Yes, and I can tell you as well, in speaking with many residents, they also feel very strongly that and ask what is our stance, what are we going to do to protect the children of the township from, or protect the parents' rights of their children to make those decisions, arguably stating the state has no, has no decision when it comes to when the child can be taught what they're going to be taught, how they're going to be taught, and all of that other stuff. And in addition to that, if there is a health change with the child, the parents are notified. So there's been a lot of concern about the fact that if there's a change of gender, the parents aren't notified. If a child is suicidal, the parents are notified. So are we splitting hairs? This is the questions that I'm asked because also of my profession. So I agree that this is something that does involve us just because we are our residents' voice. So I see that this here resolution is somewhere else. They have this in other towns.
I believe they do.
Okay, can we look into what they have, Mr. Poller, in other towns to make sure that we're not overreaching, but we're being supportive of what our residents are strongly bringing to us?
Sure.
Okay. So basically, this resolution is resolution to commend the Westwood Regional School Board of Education to protect parental rights by authorizing parental rights policies requiring parental notification of material circumstances pertaining to their children.
Do we know which board
I don't know a
member
parent
put
alive
this-
that wouldn't agree with that. I'm sorry.
Which board member brought this forward to put this on their agenda?
Which board member?
Like, are we submitting this to which board member? Are we working with a board member?
Ms. Feeney, I'm not working with anyone putting this on here. I got requests from a few residents and.
No, my question's related to, yes, I see the resolution, but are you working with the board?
Am I working with the board? No,
Yeah.
I am not working
Okay.
with the board, no.
Because, I mean, a minor is a minor, they're under full legal,
Right.
under the legal age, they're under the legal responsibility age. There's a reason why it's, the legal age is 18. A child's brain is not fully developed to understand or completely grasp their decision-making at certain ages, and that's why 18 is the legal age. I am in support of this. I would like to see this, though, be brought with the Board of Education in cooperation with them. Maybe not just pass it and maybe get the board's blessing. Then we would be working cooperatively and we could collaborate to make sure that the board knows that our intentions are only good and only positive for our residents and the Westwood children too, not just Washington Township. So that could be an option. We could take this further, one step further.
Yep, at this point, I think it's definitely worth seeing what the verbiage is. It looks like this was taken from another, it's very nicely written, I think, and I think it was taken from another
Yeah, it
municipality.
it was sent to me from a resident that had this,
Right.
to me on a couple
Right,
of
we're not
sites, so.
inventing the wheel. This is a,
No.
this is a need, addressing the voices within our community. So I support further looking into this.
And-
Maybe we could get a meeting with the board and see if they'd be willing to do this together and put it on their agenda also. So, I mean, you think we may have a positive influence in the audience?
I just, if I can make a comment. I do support parental rights. I think that they are children for a reason. I will say that the Board of Ed does, and I know because I saw it come across, my email as a parent. They do offer the choice for parents to remove their children. So they did send a form out that you could opt out of certain, classes, lessons, and then the child was offered alternatives. So, they are trying to, I think, work with the community and give parents options. But I'm with you as well. Let's see what other towns are doing.
Right. I know the board is doing their best. They are in a very, very tough, fight, I would say. It hasn't been kind. All I can say is that it's very difficult to watch. But I think this also sends a message to the state. As a community, it sends a message more to the state, not our Board of Ed. I know our Board of Ed is fighting to do what's fair and what's right for everybody. But I think this message would be sent to the state. So hopefully other towns agree, because I would like to move that forward. Okay, so does everybody on the dais agree that this should be moved? Mr. Collar should look further into this and?
Yes.
Okay.
We'd like to also see if we could maybe communicate this to the Board of Ed and work cooperatively with them to say, listen, we're putting this forward as a resolution as council, and the Board of Ed is aware of it, and then a majority or not a majority is an agreement. I think if we have full information, then they'll know that we are being as transparent as possible and talking to them and letting them know we're doing this. It's kind of like, I don't want to set the wrong tone. Like when Paramus came to us and gave us that lovely resolution because of the property, I don't want to do the same thing to the Board of Ed. You don't like something that's being done to you, don't do it to somebody else. So I think if we could reach out and, it wouldn't be a bad idea. Collaboration always works and it's always the key.
We could definitely let them know that we're looking into it for sure. And then as it further evolves, we can just keep them abreast of what we've done.
Well, I think I'll reach out then to the board and let them know that this is coming, because I think that.
Well,
would
we
be
have
the
to
best.
see, we have preliminary stuff that needs to be done. Let's do it so that it's done the right way before we.
Right, but I think the right way is, yes, this fee is being formulated now, and if they have any input or comments, we could
Absolutely.
actually take it from them before it's finalized or formulated.
But I think that should be the council president's decision to reach out to the board and contact.
No,
Yeah,
it's okay. I'm going to take it, but thank you very much for your opinion. I am going to reach out to the board.
Yeah, that's absolutely fine. Do you want to look into it, make sure that it's
Yes, I will.
just like
Yeah,
steel and we're not gonna-
I'll find out what other towns are doing and what's out there and bring it back, yeah.
And then I can show them exactly what we're proposing. Okay,
And
sounds great.
If counselor has to amend it or something, again, he's the only one who can write ordinances and resolutions,
Yes.
right? One of your jobs.
Yep.
All right, well, thank you.
Covered by the fun thing.
That line item?
It's excellent.
Kidding, too much.
All right. Where are we? I lost Ken's page.
Well,
Yeah. Let's see if I can see it right.
that's the one.
All right. Now we're going to move to financials, and it's 2022 audit report from the auditor, Sue.
Yeah, I just wanted to mention that you all got in your package the audit report. After tonight, I will have it posted on the website so that the public will be able to see it. There are certain dates that need to be met with certain things. I know we've talked in the past and residents mentioned about inviting the auditor in to talk about the audit, explain the audit ahead of time. So the corrective action form that I looked at, must have left my paperwork upstairs with my dates, but I believe it was the October, I want to say 16th, and it could be wrong, the second meeting, or it might be the 12th, and by the 16th, it has to have a corrective action form done. So the CFO and I have already spoken of that with a deadline. Division has to, respond that they've received their audit. So there are some date marks, that have to be met before we can invite him in, but I just wanted to make sure that you guys were still on board, that you wanted to do this and authorize me to, if that meeting comes, that we need to have him here to have him
Yes,
here
please.
and invite him.
Thank
And I
you.
know the mayor made a suggestion saying, it's the council appointment, let the council bring him in.
Okay,
So
excellent.
if
Thank
you're all
you.
on board with that?
Yeah, so maybe you might know this question, on his general comments and recommendations, have we accomplished any of these yet, or is this just, I'm looking at page 96, if you have your book open.
Mr. Carlo, would you like to respond to that since you have been working with the CFO?
Or we could wait until the auditor comes in. Yeah, let's wait until the
Well,
auditor.
Mr. DeCarlo has an answer, I think. Mr. DeCarlo, do you have an answer?
Let's wait until the auditor comes in. Yeah, this way we can. Okay.
Yeah, well, we're not going to do piecemeal. We'll just wait and ask all the questions at the same time of the auditor.
Right.
Okay. Thank you, though, Mr. DeCarlo.
Council President, can I just reaffirm that, yes, I have been working with my CFO on the corrective action plan, and he's well aware of it. I was also prepared to discuss those two important pages, the general comments and the recommendations. I understand it's been a long night. We still have a long way to go.
We
So I
do.
just want to tell council, as you read through it, because you probably haven't had a chance, I can assure you that we've been working on these since last fall. And you've actually received some updates since last fall, such as an example of revising our purchasing policy and such. So I just want you to keep that in mind, please, when you read that. And it is a 22 audit. I'm totally expecting a very, very nice recovery from the 22 audit when it comes to 22.
And the answers to our questions should be quite straightforward.
Yes, thank you.
So, thank you.
Thanks. All right. And now we're going to move to the draft invitation for residents along the brook. Sue.
Well, the last meeting, there was no definitive sending it out because I know there was also, the mayor was going to put out, his mailing. And I didn't know if you wanted to do a marriage of it, you still want to do a separate one, I know there's been, hasn't been nailed down yet. So that's why I need your direction of what you want to do. And I don't know if administration wants to weigh in on that at all as well.
There was talk about combining that letter with information with other stuff. Are we still doing that?
Correct,
With,
yes.
Okay, so that's where we are.
Yes.
But do you still want to have a
Yeah.
separate meeting? That was the.
You mean a separate invitation, like a separate?
A separate invitation, a meeting for them to come in and have,
So it'd be a special session?
yeah.
Do we need to have that, do you think?
I would suggest let's wait for the mailing to go out.
And then see
yeah,
gauge the
that
interest
would
of
be-
what their questions are? et
Right,
cetera?
yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
all right.
That would be
I
my
think-
recommendations that you're asking.
If we start getting a lot of emails,
Right.
then we'll put something on.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Could we do some kind of, show interest, kind of an a soft RSVP if they were interested in attending a meeting in that?
Like for
mailing?
further information, if you are unsure, uncertain after receiving this information?
Yeah,
you
so
think?
if we only get 10 responses, then maybe not, but if we get more, instead of, collecting a whole bunch of emails, it just goes to like a Google form, let's say. Let's just.
I don't see why we couldn't do that.
Yeah, an easy track of how many people show interest.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think you're gonna have a pretty large turnout.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think that's what's gonna happen.
So why don't we try to get ahead of it a little bit and put a tentative date together? If we need it, we'll have it for a meeting. I mean, when is the mailing going to go out?
We're still working with Frank Rossi on him producing the stormwater, which is the bulk of it. Hopefully by next council meeting, we'll have a good direction as to when the mailing will go out.
All right, then we'll discuss then
Okay,
pulling up, getting a tentative date.
thank you.
Yep, okay. All right, so we're gonna move into closed. Resolution number 23-315, continued property acquisition discussion, litigation 660 Pascack Road update, and possible litigation. So motion to enter into closed session.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Council will not be reconvening to the public.